She
And
has
one
the
shareholder.
chain, I don't know how much they cost.
Is it subsidiary?
Alright,
You see it, right? Yeah, depends on what it is.
If I could ever get it to
Yeah,
work out.
this is subsidiary, there's only one major shareholder,
Look like they
only
get
99%, and then another only 1%.
I haven't used Skype in so long.
there's only one license, they only have one license over here, it's one of them, only one of them.
Only one of them? Should have two. Because normally, whoever owns it owns the bulk, and then the nominee owns it.
Because they had a problem that people who signed it out of good standing. But they in violation of the company sector. But I said, would we know that, would we?
But the dealing officer should know that.
Oh, okay. That was just a concept one.
No, you don't have to go to policy, go into the dealing officer. They could actually check it from the annual statement, and right on they'll tell you who owns the shares.
That's true.
Yeah.
You see
So,
it coming.
they may say it's one because they see the name of ABC company, and then the one is in a nominee.
But the law firm was curious.
May have been an error, but double check, normally, yeah,
Okay.
it shouldn't be anything, but the relationship manager should know, based on the annual statement. All right, so let's talk about shares, share capital, shareholders capitalization.
You're not allowed
Oh, she didn't say that. Huh?
for the record, keeper?
Oh, Lord, she just reached.
Yeah.
There was a unanimous decision.
Oh, okay.
She's traveling,
Okay.
so we want to switch. We'll do Tuesday record keeping, which is short, so you don't have to stay here late.
Okay.
And then we'll do this one today, and then she won't be here for the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
So, record keeping, she could read on her own. She listened to it, but this is more difficult for her. Hold on, let them other 3 people. Supposed to be.
There's another person here who I work with, I don't see her on the phone.
Yeah, just straight in. One came last week, I had a class with her last week, and the other two said they had some urgent matters, I don't know. That's what to bring them up to speed. But you know, like they disappear too.
It's rough to come out at 12, you know. It's easy to come out at 9. Cause I went to work first. It's rough to come
Cause some
out.
people go first round, cause they say they're not morning persons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some morning class, sometimes some people walk in 9:30, 10:45. Seriously? And they come sit 9, they tell the class is 9 to 12, so, it's okay, so no. When you see 9, we start at 9, and depends on the length of the chapter and what it is. By 11 o'clock, people are ready to go, you can be walking at 11 o'clock.
That's stupid.
Okay, so Tuesday we do
The
five.
go.
Oh, her daughter
Okay.
is sick, so she
Oh,
won't be
what a minute,
coming. Stephanie.
last name, no, someone else called me.
That's 167.
Yeah, someone else called, Taylor? Someone named Taylor called. She called. So there's still 2 more. Then the one I saw on Saturday past, she said she wouldn't miss class. She said she was coming. Yeah. She's new. Yeah, she's new, but she had worked in a law firm before, no. She worked in a law firm before.
The one number 2. Oh,
Yeah, the ones that next is the one who had death, right?
Yeah.
Who's in here?
yeah.
Probably up to 4. Okay, so let's talk about shares. What do you know about shares? What is a share? Don't look in the book.
That's an
Ownership
interest
in a company.
Okay. What else? Mm-hmm. If you have shares in a company, what does that mean to you? Yes, it's ownership and it's interest, but a little bit more.
You're entitled to profit.
Yes.
You can give instructions, depending on the type of shares or the type of ownership.
Oh, you could have voting rights,
Yes.
That's ownership / what?
interest.
Interest.
Sorry, and what's under that?
Entitled to
Entitled
profits.
and voting rights?
Voting rights, yeah. What else? When you own shares in a company.
You're liable, depending on what type of company it is.
Well, you're only liable up to the amount.
Up to the amount of
Shares.
shares,
Shares.
yeah, okay?
Or the investment,
Yeah, but the same as the amount of the shares.
okay.
Keep going. More.
Just all shares?
Mm-hmm. Or she can get a little book in the back here.
Yes, I'm so excited for you.
You ordered your book?
I did. You know what else, huh? And I get this a deal, this is the other one.
Oh, that ain't bad. What edition you are, with the seventh edition? X and
I
Boots?
can't see.
Liable to amount of shares or investment firm.
Liable to amount of shares.
Yeah, liable, the amount of shares or investment.
And you already complained with my handwriting on the board.
No,
Girl,
you're tiny.
you were small.
Too small.
Even with my glasses on, I couldn't see.
That makes it better.
Brighter.
But I'm blind and I can see it.
Can we say that you're entitled to dividends?
I have a,
That's
profit.
profits,
That's
profits,
profits,
I got profits
yeah.
slash dividends.
I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with
You're really trying to crack our brain.
Come on, man.
Can I give it away?
Don't make it one.
You can sell shares.
You can sell it.
Sell it or give it away?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's actual property.
Shares is property.
Mm-hmm.
And you said there's one more?
No, I said leave it like that. Because you put it as voting rights, but you have rights. This is just one of your rights.
Okay.
So now you see why people want to own shares in the company. So I know you all are just waiting for the new IMAX place to say they're selling shares.
I don't think they could be open now, so I don't think that would be a good investment.
So don't buy nothing. Thanks.
I mean,
Public announcement.
every investment is a risk. So-
There we go, every investment is a risk,
associated
and you limit your risk by the amount of interest you
Shares
take in the company.
And make sure
Why
it
not the
doesn't,
real amount?
the real risk don't
This is
would you
entertainment, she
invest?
said. Right?
What?
Just to
Right?
invest
Um,
your income.
No, no, that's not income.
She's asking why you don't think it's.
People think it hard to pay $10 to go to the regular movie theater. Let's say you have a family of 4. Tickets start at say $20, just a rough guess. I don't know how much the ticket's gonna run to.
25.
Well, if that's 25, so that means that's $100 before you even buy your kids some refreshments, cause you know they go want popcorn and a drink. So when they first open, I think people are gonna flock, cause people wanna go. But really, in the economic climate, it's just expensive. And almost anything that comes out, you could watch online for free in a matter of days.
Yeah, I think they guaranteed income for the first, profits for the first year, and after that it may decline. And then something else, maybe
You
they
never
get
get profits in the
You don't
first
get the
year.
profit.
You
No,
never
I
get
think
profits
There'll be no
yet.
profit,
In
I don't
terms
think, in
of-
the first year.
but not profits, but they'll have some type of
You'll be making an income.
revenue and
They're
income.
making income, but
And
there won't be a
income.
profit.
So, but the volume of people that
How
will
much
be
did it cost to
attending.
build it?
But from what I understand, they got a lot of investors such as pools, funds into it, so.
Which usually happens.
Yeah, we have outside
Now,
funding.
if it's
Yeah.
backed by one of the number boys, it'll be around, cause they'll use it, they have to put in their money.
They're saying.
No, I
when
don't
heard
think
this
so.
week,
I
they
don't
said
want- I don't
these
think
are
they are not
external
involved.
persons.
I think they
Foreigners.
independent from.
They got foreigners. the back then.
That's gonna be another
And
challenge,
that's
then
another
when
challenge.
their funds.
When their
and
funds
their
not
money,
coming
yeah.
in.
That's gonna be another
So that's
challenge.
why I was saying, looking at, we're talking about shares now, I wonder if they actually will do an IPO. How are they gonna get their money back to pay these people?
I don't think Behemoth's gonna invest in an IPO with that.
Payments are an investment savvy
That's
anyway.
the last-
No.
that's the last one.
I don't know, I waiting,
They're
and
an
I
investment
think
savvy, they into property
not a
and-
liquor store, I
Small
bought shares in the
businesses.
brewery and stuff,
Mhm.
and that was a good buy.
That's how you
Cause
understand
everybody
people.
lick
They
they
do
pour
it.
liquor
Sales.
No, they think
liquor
they do it.
sales.
They do
Yeah.
it
No
the
matter
things they
what
are
the
sure
economy
about.
is doing, if it's
Yeah.
a hurricane,
They're not
everybody
risk takers.
liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it for
Exactly.
things
Don't
they
get
sure
what going on.
about.
So
Right.
if we go,
Yeah.
so if we go to the theater again, remember now the whole point about the IMAX theater
It's
is
entertainment.
entertainment and experience.
But
So
then-
they have to
So they gotta sell
continually
the
be
continued
creative.
experience.
They
They have to have
continue-
good
It's
service.
about, yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Service.
customer
That's what's
service,
important.
continue being innovative in what they produce.
And good food.
And good food.
Cause I know in Barbados, they have this big cinema. And they have service, they have waiters and everything, they have the plush chairs and stuff.
Mhm.
The movies are not up to date, but it's an experience.
Yeah, so
For the
that's what we want,
And then they're
experience.
People go to Island House.
Yeah,
Island House.
yeah,
Yeah, go for the
Yeah.
experience.
They go for
And
it.
And they go, they see over
Yeah.
the
They
island.
must get rid of it
I
because
think
of
the
other
yogurt and
parts.
ice cream.
No, but people go to the
They have
movies, they
Starbucks.
have to go to the Island House section.
They have a
Yeah,
playroom
so
for
they
so
go
kids.
in-
everything you're going for is the
Movies,
experience,
right.
that's what
Yeah.
you're
But
paying
I don't
for.
think that's their, for them, that's their income.
That's
so
what I'm
that's
saying.
their-
Yeah.
So IMAX only
Mhm.
offering entertainment.
Because
period.
remember when
Yeah,
Mario was
yeah.
rolling, when
But
they
they
had
have
the little
they have
section there for
restaurants
kids, the
too.
Oh, they have
arcade
restaurants.
and the skating
If you go on
ring,
Facebook
then that
page,
gone.
and they'll tell you they
People
offer,
don't go.
I think it's two
The
restaurants.
skating ring is closed and the
Yeah,
But
arcade,
they,
people
when
don't
they
use
first
it like
opened,
that.
when everybody was
Yes,
there.
everybody was
Like you
using
open
the
an ice
skating
cream
ring
shop.
and.
But that's what I'm
Doing
saying,
that.
when it comes to entertainment,
Children's
entertainment, to invest in entertainment, it has to be something that is sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go to the restaurant, you have an option of leaving your kids in the playroom while you.
How many people will do that?
But yeah,
See-
cause when if you have kids and you go to a restaurant, my daughter coming with me, majority of the time, so you know what I mean, if you talk about what type of restaurant,
You could be
other
worried.
than that, if you're doing a night out wedding for children, you will find somebody else, to watch them, you know.
For
And
free.
I
For
understand,
free.
I think where they get most
Yeah,
benefit
for free,
from
for
too is
free.
from the cruise ships, cause I understand they have an agreement with the cruise ships to have them bring them there.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, the tourists who come in overnight.
They have to find.
But they don't wanna buy one.
Most of the cruise
I am
ships don't be
serious.
here overnight.
They don't be overnight. They
Majority
come
of those
every day.
No,
cruise
but I mean
ships.
through the day, cause they're
Yeah.
also,
To go see the movies?
in the no, because in the movies they're also offering an educational tour on the Bahamian history. And you'll be
I
able
gotta
to
see how
walk
that
certain
goes.
things.
Because I'm gonna tell you, the minute they
Those
reach here,
tourists don't
It's a
want
good
to
idea, but
No.
how realistic it
Tourists
is.
they don't wanna buy a bottle of
I
water.
spend money. Tourists on the
They
ship
go
don't hardly spend
downtown, they
money.
will not buy a bottle of water.
Mhm.
Then you'll hear them saying, we're going back to the ship for the water because it's free.
Majority
So
No,
you
but
could
no,
get-
but what the way you get
That's what I
cruise
do.
ship gas is, you have to actually make a deal with the cruise ship. They put together a package
package.
that you're gonna pay, that they're gonna
They're
pay
gonna
the
sell
cruise
that
ship.
on a cruise.
They can
And
sell
they
it on the
sell them a
cruise ship.
ticket that'll be
Yeah.
inclusive of food, water, your entertainment,
Yeah.
But
that's
they
the
do
only
that-
way you could get that.
But remember now, Dolphin and Collins and Atlantis could do that. Because
No, it
people
doesn't.
want, no, because that's what people want to see. You go,
They
think
can
of
do
yourself, you
that.
go on a cruise ship and you go
Yeah.
to a Caribbean island. So
Yeah.
you really want to say, okay, one of your
Other
options
than
would
that,
be
I
to go
don't
to the
see it.
movies, the IMAX.
I
You're
don't
going to
know.
pick,
I don't know, because you have different tourists, you have to understand, some people want to see what we do, and if this is a part of, and then they get to ride out of the downtown area, that's another thing.
But the thing about it is, we have a
But
lot
see,
of
that's-
American
that's-
tourists.
I know.
We have a lot of American
That's
tourists
what I'm
coming
saying.
on.
That's what
those
it
cruise
is.
ships.
That's what I
Yeah.
know.
European cruise ships.
If it's bought from Bahamian stuff.
And
I
they
tell you,
No,
they
but they
can sell
have,
it.
they're gonna be
What?
filming Bahamian films
Yeah.
in one particular theater for them.
If they do,
So
but
like
they
they
can
do
do it
it
like
like
that.
that.
What they would need is like shows, like how they done this, how they had
Yeah, those
Shakespeare.
kind, yeah.
Culture
Live
shows,
Cultural,
cabaret
Bahamians will come to the
shows,
cultural show.
And
Like,
then, like,
you're gonna,
for
if you're
students-
gonna get rid of wine out the Dundas and move it in there.
Right.
So you have local
Yeah.
production,
Uh-huh,
you
that's what
have
they
the
need.
Bahamian international
Uh-huh.
movies, and then
Right.
you have the actual movies
Yeah.
from there, and then you have, like in the, you notice
Cause
in
they
the
have like
States,
educational
right, in the
departments.
States, they have some theaters that only show international movies.
Yeah.
Right.
not the ones that come, the regular ones, international,
Film.
really
Foreign
good,
films,
serious
yeah.
foreign films, and if they have that variety, I can see you drawing the people in.
That's true.
But
But
if
they
you
need
don't have
things
that,
like Sami Sween.
Cause the
they need to
restaurant,
have
yeah,
some
movie
culture
theater,
things.
they're
a
not gonna
culture.
Yeah,
Cause
of
on the
course,
food,
for him it's
see,
the
not
best.
just
So they
the
go
food.
right
culture.
there and you get a free, you go to
Because
them.
I go to
They're
the
American
Yeah.
tourists, they're
when I
American
go, when
tourists,
they
they
have
want
everything on
everything
the
instant.
port or
Yeah.
whatnot, I come back and I say, well,
Yeah, and you go right on the ship and
Well,
you
ship
eat for
is
free
free.
at the, you
Exactly.
know.
And they don't eat on Bay Street.
Mhm, no.
They
I
don't
think
buy
it's a good
chocolate.
idea, but how
That's
long it's
true.
gonna be sustained is the question.
So, but sustainability, and if you
The
want to get
succession of it.
investors, local investors in it,
Thank
I'm
you.
saying you have to do exactly what you just said. You have to make the entertainment diverse.
Cause I know they also wanna
That's the only
offer
way you can do it.
educational programs.
And then you
to
can do an IPO.
schools.
But they can't offer it according to me because children have to be in school.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
See,
like,
and then they
it's
have to
just
do
like,
in the
it's
fee.
just one of their services that they plan on providing.
Yeah, but then they have to look at the fee as well, because if you as a parent, if you're gonna, depend on what you're showing, where are you going on any field trip, talking about $30-$40 or so.
Exactly.
Okay,
No,
that
the
ain't
children,
bad.
the children rates are different from the
But that's, but
regular
I'm
But they still
saying
have to
they
make
will
money.
still,
They have to
they will
make
still give
money.
a fee.
But that size,
I know.
Yeah.
They ain't put no solar panels on that roof.
Oh,
The electricity bill is
Thank
gonna
you.
kill them.
That's
So
another
they might
issue.
have a target market, and I could say even with those cruise ships, when they have those tours, people respond, people give their view. If the first set of people don't think
the
it's good,
negative, that's
that
it,
will
it's
come
finished.
off.
Yeah.
That will come off in the cruise
Well,
ship
they've
and
been
no longer
planning
off.
this for
Yeah.
at least 10 to 15 years. So I sure
What?
yeah, they've been planning this for about 10 years.
But I mean,
The
in
business
order,
plans
Okay,
are
so they've
going
been
through it,
planning it for
vetting
10
it,
years, right?
And then it's just gotten off the
Check the
ground.
feel or the temperature of the people now. They've
I thought they
emailed
said
us all
that's high
over.
and it's
You don't see no
very-
one sound excited.
No.
Everybody so far said, it's too much money.
I think everybody is timid and
This is too much money. They're not gonna
and
spend
then
that
you
amount of
have a
money.
new movie will come out, and you look at it and you say, and gallery is still is $10 and that's
Oh,
$25.
gallery to get put out of business.
Galleries
It
are
always
has
so
to.
sticky, they need to clean
We
that
too
place.
small to sustain.
Two.
Two.
You can't do
So
two.
gallery.
well, that's why the
almost
JFK
on
went
the
out,
way
had
out.
to close down, because here, you can't have, two theaters within the same radius.
We only 21 by 7.
That's what I'm saying, that's why they had to close, so when they opened, the one in JFK had to close.
The
because you
problem
couldn't
with
have
R&D,
R&D.
the
That's
problem,
true.
no,
No,
What?
why I'm saying that's true is because when they get their films from the United States, they have it's someone who they sign an agreement with to order the films,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't, because of the proximity of the theaters, I think there's some type of stipulation here where you can't sell the same,
But I
that
think
same
JFK
business
wasn't
can't
making
be
no money.
open.
I
That's
think
what
that
it
is
is.
nothing,
They were
yeah.
not making money, but because the proximity of where they're located, they had to shut down. Because
But if they had it
But the
first,
way- no,
how
but
does
the
But it's
way
one
that make
entity.
them?
No.
But it's one entity.
No,
It's one
because-
entity, but the way they operated was that some shows that were shown at the,
Wasn't
it
showing
wasn't showing
there.
there. So
Wasn't
that may
showing
be
there.
true, but I'm
That's
saying like
true.
how they did it was just to say
Mhm.
offered at this location and not that. And when it stopped at this location, it went at that one. So I don't know if that,
And
I mean,
people
it
didn't
may be
see it.
true, but people recognize it.
But you know,
Every
every
business
business,
that you have a
they
risk
start
in it.
making money and they don't upgrade.
The
their
only
services.
thing I
That's
don't,
right.
the only thing I don't agree with
And that's what I think
them
that happened to IMAX.
is
I think
they
like.
You
should
mean
have
gallery?
started
Yeah.
so big.
Yeah.
But I'm
I think they
saying,
should have started on a smaller scale and then as they see the volume,
Add on.
expand.
One of the number boys can take it over eventually, even if they are not involved right
yeah,
now.
but you said
Because
that
that's
look
a
at
way
it,
for
people
them.
That's a
still
lot of
willing
money.
to pay
Yeah.
that. I said,
No,
I
no,
still
no,
think if
It
a
ain't a
movie
matter
come
of that,
out,
it allows them a legitimate way to
clean
clean their
their
money.
Only
So
if
that's
only
fine,
if they put a
that's fine.
casino in there.
yeah,
But
people
it's
might
still
go
Now-
there.
now
And then
baby,
they plan on
Right,
Then
like
it's gonna be a
the
full
I
entertainment.
think they
show-
plan on renting some of
show
their
and
rooms for
stuff.
parties
So you can go for dinner and
for-
Show and
That
something,
could work.
yeah.
Well,
That would
that-
work.
that-
They have a
that could work.
promotional section where they plan on renting some of the rooms for parties and entertainment.
Oh,
Everybody
no.
wanna go there for
But
a
they
party.
gonna have to
No, when I
realize-
say parties, like, I mean, y'all may say this, but you have a lot of these young
What do you
people
mean
who
for
just, any age bracket, who just wanna
for
have
somewhere else
parties.
But they gotta have
They're
a
not
different
interested in that
entrance.
anymore, but you have another set of generation
I
that's
just
interested
think
in
the
it.
population's too small.
I
It
think so
is.
too for that.
Like,
that
that
is
makes
small.
sense. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I don't agree with, the
Because
fact
the
that
one
they
in
started
Barbados
on
is
such
so
a
nice,
large
but
scale.
it's very small.
No, no, I'm
You don't
not
have
in the
two-
idea.
you don't
No,
have
I
two
mean,
bananas
such a
on
large
that
scale.
is
Too big.
really
They should have
Yeah.
started off with maybe 2 theaters and a
Yeah, it's
restaurant.
a huge thing. What you going for?
I
Soda and
buy them.
chocolate?
No, I don't
Because
need to
the
buy them
maintenance
all.
of the building itself
Say soda.
is an
So-
expense that they can't make profit from.
So when you talk about shares, those are the kind of things you have to look at, not because someone say there's a new IPO on the market, everybody must run and buy shares. You have to look at the viability of the business, not just what they put in the prospectus, in terms of this is what the business is, these are the projections. You actually have to be reasonable, does it make sense?
Yeah, because I have the system.
Yeah, is it realistic, is the
Is it
objective
realistic?
realistic?
Right.
This
You may be
carrot,
I
wrong,
don't
but
feel
you
like
go
they're
with what
realistic.
you, what you
Well, the
feel.
first thing is, they obviously can borrow funds, so they can
No.
invest this, cause the bank wouldn't buy that business plan.
But to sustain that, that's the question now.
Yeah, because when you're looking at a business plan, you have to have a business plan for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
A projected timeline, so the story isn't viable in some ways, cause like I say, I presented an ISU and everybody knocked it down. So, not everybody could see it being logical.
So then you get money from the outside for people who have money to base.
Exactly, that's not
Or
their
money to
income.
launder.
yeah, but then,
That's
but they
true.
can still, they still want.
They still want
return.
money back.
They still
They want
return.
returns.
Yeah, well, the
They
land
probably
and
have
that
an
the
agreement with them to say after the
Well,
next,
yeah.
after the first 2
But then
years,
again,
they
you
wanna be
see,
paid
open
out
the door for
dividends.
foreigners to own more land.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's what it is. And prime land over the lake.
Mhm.
That's another thing you have to think about. I don't see how it's going to work.
It's nice and it's good, but I don't think they're
I
gonna
don't see how it's going to work.
I give it a year. If that.
You give it a
I'd
year?
say 6 months.
It's too far for me to go.
I give
drive
it 2 years.
I'm not gonna drive it there.
This is just
Yeah,
two hours pulling out.
You see, don't forget that's open in November, right in time for Christmas.
You got that?
Never come Christmas.
Right.
Because Christmas,
Yes.
everybody looking for something to do
Everybody
in the
excited,
line.
yeah,
When you see January gone,
January.
then see what
Then see
happens.
what happens.
Then February, you may have a little flock of people in love.
Never mind.
Ain't that much.
Never
A
mind.
little flock.
Ain't that much. Think about it.
And then you
Typical
can't
Canadian
keep- and
woman.
you
They
can't
don't want
keep-
to go to no movie.
You can't keep.
Not for no
focusing-
Valentine.
No, they don't want that.
And you can't keep focusing on
John
what the
Boy will
young
always
people
make
want
money.
because the young
Okay.
people don't have the
Wonderful.
funds. So you can't keep focusing on the young
Yeah.
people, what the young people wanna do. They're not
Young
the ones
people
with the
not.
money.
They
Yeah.
can go to their parents.
So how's that affected the homeboys and just in that,
Me the one everybody had.
Which interest?
You think he really has an interest in that?
That's what they said.
I know he had interest in the subdivision in the back there.
Oh, they talking about, you mean the woman about,
Mm-hmm.
Shane,
Yeah.
Shane Gibson? He may not even have it directly in his name, he could have
Yeah.
somebody,
They say he has
have
an
a
interest in it. He
nominee,
say he does.
he could have a nominee investor,
Yeah, he
have
have a
an
nominee
agreement with them.
investor. He could be one of the investors. But then that's our money.
no.
We should be going for free.
All
This
this
gonna be down. Let me see you prove my interest. I'm right behind you. I support you.
You all know the trial has begun, right?
Huh?
No, don't forget, you told us last time, this thing
It
out.
has started.
This month, right?
Yeah, it started.
Okay. And I'll start.
She,
I know this-
the judge cleared the courtroom though, but it's supposed to be open.
Listen, the first time
But
we
then
were
she
in the
couldn't walk
courtroom,
away,
I
she
happened to
had
be
that
there, and you should see the amount of people just coming in the flock, who was just PLP.
She wants
The
to
support
keep
it.
the reporters out of the courtroom.
And I
Yeah,
was
but
like,
she-
this
yeah.
is a
But
celebrity.
it's
I wasn't
open
there.
court.
Yeah,
I wasn't
simply,
there.
yeah.
I was in the court.
This is on him.
October or
They
September,
say
they
they
made
I
mistakes
think
in
they
the
came
process
in,
of
but
saying,
you have asked
Sitting
what
on
you
the
check them
bench,
out,
right?
and they was upset because
You
the
don't
judge
know.
wouldn't let
You know
them
what I mean?
inside the actual courtroom.
Yeah.
But he'll be
He's
the
a
first,
celebrity,
but he'll
he's
be the
some-
first one to test the law.
And I think
There's
that's
no
what they
laws.
Well,
want.
but part of the problem with that is our laws aren't retroactive.
No.
So he falls under the old law, not the new law.
Exactly, at the time in which
So he is a testimony.
Man,
new
go
law.
on, man. This
And
meeting-
he's still under
Basically, you
the
don't
old
get
law.
free. Based
At
on
the
this
time in
interest.
which he committed the crime,
Yes,
that's
laws
the law
aren't
that applied.
retroactive.
Yeah.
It doesn't go
That's what
forward,
I
it
said. It
doesn't
doesn't sound
go.
like this case wasting time.
It
Yeah,
isn't.
so it's a waste of time then.
Exactly.
They could still try.
But I guess
Still
it's
try
just-
him out.
His
I
lawyers,
guess it's
his
just
lawyers
a
have
thing
to
for
make,
me
his
too.
lawyers
still
have
try
to
it.
make that point in the court. They
I
have
think
to
too,
make
it's know what it
that
is,
clear.
Yeah.
it's just exposure.
But
They
then,
have
you know,
to
it'd
be
be a good way,
exposed.
this
No,
would,
if
guess
he-
what, it'd be a
if
good
it
way to
is
test that
proven,
our
He
old
obtained
law
funds illegally.
Mhm.
He could
was
be
able to
charged for that,
stand the
that's
test.
stealing.
Cause the
But they
FATF
have
is
no
saying
evidence.
is that our laws
Just
are
put
so
this word
weak,
against my
we
word.
couldn't
That's what
charge
it is,
anyone.
right?
And they're
Yeah,
able
but
to
at the
bring
end
a
of the day,
charge
the
on
court
him in
decides
the
who
old
they find
law
to be more
to
credible.
prove them wrong.
Okay.
We
As
just
a
had a
witness.
lot of penalties and fines.
Yeah.
We, over the years, you can't really have a statistical group of people that have been penalized and actually jailed for these offenses. No,
No.
most of the time it's brought about,
Mhm.
the case is thrown out. settled
That's
out
what
of
I'm saying,
court.
so they can go through the court, through the normal process.
Most times it's
We'll
settled out
be
of
able to
court.
prove that we actually had a case on the old legislation and it went through the process. Because we don't have one of
What's
those.
happened to the Fred Ramsey case?
Ron Ramsey was found guilty.
Yeah, he was found guilty, but then they said they delayed his sentencing. What
So
happened
all
after
my
that?
goodness, when they say go to jail, my man may die.
Well, listen, Bill
How
Cosby,
old
so
is he?
Yeah.
we might
But
as
Bill
well-
He's
Cosby
old.
on a different system.
No, but I just
Yeah.
saying, the age don't matter.
Shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter, shouldn't matter.
It doesn't matter because, and I think in Bill Cosby cases, the amount of people that came
Bill
forward.
Cosby black.
That was a
And
stitch
he
up
black.
because the,
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
Right
statute
before
of
that
limitation
happened,
was
Spend
expired
money.
on
Right
that.
before that happened, he was about to buy
CBS.
CBS.
And that's
And
why
all
he
of a
did
sudden
it. People just
Come
started
up,
forward.
yeah.
What else, what
And
happened?
half of them he had already
Yeah, they
paid
say
off.
y'all ain't know your place.
Oh.
Well, they done paid them off and they still going
But it
to
happens to
Yeah.
all of them.
They
One
were
after
showing
the next one.
That's why Oprah opened her own thing out.
Yeah.
Oh, she created
Well,
her
that's
own
what
And
they
they
say.
thought, and they
They
thought that
buy
was
the
not going to
ABC.
succeed.
If they, if
buy
you don't, if
ABC.
But
they,
she's just so talented.
One of them,
NBC.
or CBS or
They
something.
said
One of them.
CBS.
Yeah.
he was gonna be purchasing CBS, and right before the sale went through, all of a sudden people started coming up saying, oh, he did.
Yeah, they were showing
Some of
him, they
them
were
was
showing him.
legitimate, you know, but the majority of them were already paid off and settled. And they came back and opened it up. Right.
Rights. As a shareholder, you have rights. Or you wouldn't want to invest in IMAX. And the first thing is you have voting rights.
I don't wanna invest in
Question
that.
is, what?
Next one, if you have rights in what? Get the dividends. What's your third right? You have another right.
Disclosure?
That's not a right.
That's not a right.
No.
To give instruction.
Never mind, that's no way.
To appoint the
Yeah,
directors?
As a shareholder, no.
To sell or buy, sell or
I
give.
just throwing names out there, sorry, I'm not thinking.
If you're a shareholder,
You could,
And the decision making running at the company?
to sell or
That's
buy
your
your
vote?
position.
that's your
You
vote.
have a right to sell your shares?
Sell it,
Or
buy it,
transfer your
gift it.
shares?
That's not a right.
She already have property up there.
It's a
Okay.
property. That's a part of,
So
property.
you have voting rights, you have the rights
to
to
pay a
transfer your
dividend,
dividends.
uh-huh.
And
Sell rights.
hold on.
And I'm not gonna tell you.
You say don't have it.
No, she said don't tell her.
No, I was trying to really think about it.
Okay, think
as a
about it. Two
shareholder,
more, as a shareholder.
It's two more rights?
Mm-hmm.
You have a
Okay.
right to vote, you have a right to vote.
You say that. We don't have a right to give instruction?
But I'm sure we gave instructions to.
I can have a forum when I go to the shareholders.
You
Oh,
vote.
that's voting, I
You
guess
vote.
voting, eh? That's my rights there. That's my only voice there,
What?
when I vote.
Yeah,
I get no other thing to say.
no.
The meetings?
You go to meetings and you vote. You vote on the motions.
On the vote on the actions that
Yeah.
that you take, that's your authorization there.
Oh, my God.
That's plenty.
No.
One,
Some
one,
people don't have a voice,
exactly.
depending on what type of shares you purchase.
What are the rights you have? A company has a legal personality.
Lawfully,
Uh-huh, you have that right. As a shareholder.
which means if the company's in breach of something, you have a right to
If the company is being sued, who should know?
the shareholder.
Shareholders.
So what if I don't know?
Why wouldn't you know?
It's maybe I'm paying attention.
Well, that's your problem.
That's a personal issue.
That's right.
Cause you can't go never go on the court and say, I don't know, okay, next.
And if the company is being wound up, what's your right?
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
No excuse.
That's what the court
If the company is being wound up, what's your right? Here, distribution. Whatever's left for final distribution. So you can still invest in IMAX and hope something is left afterwards.
Not so quick.
After they pay all the creditors, they.
I don't know if it's the creditors, they have to pay those investors. I heard that's a huge sum of money that they got.
You can see that is, and the thing about it,
It's
that,
millions.
Yeah.
that is huge.
Millions.
I agree, we needed some more entertainment, but not
And they
that
say that, and
level.
they say that the owners are young.
Yeah, not on that level, and
I
some
thought he
of
said
them,
that guy, he's an
and
attorney.
some of them sit on the
Which one?
board
He
too.
used to
One
work
or
at
two of the
Monroe's
investors
and then
sit
he
on
left
the board.
he's fall off New York. He used to be on the file, yeah. He's one of them. And on this one. I forgot his name.
I'm not borrowing millions of dollars. Never.
They've
All right.
been laying around, so.
Now depends on the type of share you have. The share has different rights
So with these rights, what we just talked about, Joe?
in general.
Just general rights,
Mhm.
okay.
My friend in the back got a whole book, new book on shares. Yeah, she have a new book. She got a
She
case
can't find
book.
that yet, we gotta ask her next class.
Give me one type of share. Let me see your new book.
This one here, distribution, and there are different types of shares.
Types of shares?
Yeah, common, preferred, ordinary.
This subject, this chapter long, I just feel like this needs to be done in two
What?
class.
She in her new book.
That's just, I think that's just a case law book, eh?
Yeah, it's a case law. Yeah, don't
What's the
get
name
it.
of the book?
It's the same one that she has.
Oh,
X and Goose.
I need to order that then.
You had the 7th edition? What edition you want?
I don't remember, I didn't bring it.
Okay, so if you're an ordinary shareholder, what does that mean? What's an ordinary shareholder?
I think when I say type of ordinary, you get your shares after the preferred shareholder, you get the difference.
Is that the same as common shareholder?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have voting rights,
Uh-huh.
but when a liquidation occurs, you last to be paid out.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Preferred shareholders are paid out.
Ordinary
first.
shares, the same as what?
However,
One vote. What else?
what do you mean by one vote?
When you have one
You
vote.
only have
One vote per share or one
Per
vote
share.
just overall? Just one person?
One vote.
So vote per share.
So your vote is up by percentage then, say you
Mhm.
have 42% of
You
shares.
carry more weight than someone who only has 2 votes.
Okay.
You remember when you watch those movies and they say there's a meeting
Mm-hmm.
and they say these 5 people have to be there, but one person isn't there. So it doesn't make any sense us having a vote because they carry the majority.
Majority,
They
yeah.
could swing it
Yeah.
because based on your shares, you may only have 2% of the vote, 3%, 1%, 4%, but that one carrying the bulk. So when that person comes and they vote whether it's yes or no, they just wipe out all your votes.
So, just for clarity,
Mhm.
I know in a board meeting, you have to have a quorum, whereas the quorum would be like how many directors have to sit there for the meeting to be lawful, a certain thing to be
Mhm,
passed.
mhm,
And a shareholder meeting is based on the votes.
mhm. Got it? What else about the ordinary share? You said it already.
I mean, they all,
They can share in the dividends when it's wound up.
Yeah.
But is it true they get paid last?
No. There's a hierarchy. What's a non-voting share?
They have no voting rights.
They carry the right to attend general meetings or vote.
And you see, I have here that they normally give those to employees as remuneration. So the only thing you're actually getting is just the dividends, you have no say,
Oh,
you have no say. I think, I may be wrong, but I think Commonwealth Bank have redeemable shares. Or callback share, I think they're callback shares. Callback, right? They're callback shares.
Is that the same thing as redeemable?
Mm-hmm.
You're aware of that when you purchase it, so,
So what,
so that's a risk you take in. You mean you'll be getting income back before it's called back? If they declare dividends.
And you should be getting more because it has that feature. So
they-
you're investing, this is the way to raise money, you're investing shares in your company for a particular period at a particular price.
so that's raising capital, increasing capital?
Increasing capital.
so redeemable shares,
And then they call it back, so they take it
Increase
back. Yeah, so they take it back. So you know these normal leaders.
increased capital.
I'm trying to segue.
Sugar rush.
So you increase capital,
Mhm.
and then it's a callback.
Yeah.
You buy shares.
But wait now, when you call it back, let's just say I buy shares and I buy it at, I don't know, let's give a price, $99. When I call it back, do I pay it back 100%, like $100, or is it just, how is it?
Original price.
Just original
Yeah,
price?
because you
Okay.
be getting dividends in between.
Oh,
The
okay.
investment is just the
Will the
profit,
share
the
profit.
dividend.
Will the share value increase? So that'll be something they discuss. when
It
they-
depends on when they offer it. Cause they're not gonna offer it, but it's gonna be a loss to the company.
Okay,
Cause you'll be getting the dividends in between.
so this is what you call corporate action.
What do you mean corporate action? Corporate action?
That's what you're doing.
That sounds great, but you saying what now, when they buy these shares, if they get guaranteed dividends?
No, there's no guarantee.
Oh,
No, if the company
So,
declares
company
dividends,
declares
you have rights
dividends,
to it.
you have rights to it. Because don't forget, this is packaged as an attractive product, this is
Investment.
redeemable.
But it's not
And so-
long term.
No.
So my thing is, what would be the attraction to it?
The high dividends.
Because, no, but it's only dividends, the only if you declare dividends you get, so me as the investor, why would I wanna buy these
First, it's a
shares?
short-term investment, it's not long.
Okay.
And you still
So
get
you're
your
reducing
money
your
back.
risk and you still getting your money back.
Time you get your,
Uh-huh,
Okay.
you're getting your money back.
cause it's a possibility you do not get the dividend.
Yeah, but you get your money back.
Okay.
So it's a way of borrowing money, but not borrowing money.
Like what the government does.
It's like a
same
bond,
thing.
if you put.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing.
So increase capital is a callback, right, so dividend, it's a short term, and
So regardless of whether you get any dividend, whatever you
Put in your.
put in, you get back as a guarantee. But there's no guarantee you make anything on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to see family members and.
Companies do
do
this.
that. No, I'm just saying for people to invest in them. I can't see just a regular, normal, common man wanting to to say, okay, let me do that.
Let's do that all the
It
time.
depends on the volume.
You see?
And then if the company has
No,
good
we
faith,
negotiate,
like if
yeah.
you seeing
Yeah.
them do it
Yeah.
before, or they have a history of paying their dividends out there before, you probably would take the risk.
If it's a volume,
On the banking side,
That's
we read
something you
exactly
could
the
push your money
beneficial
for a couple of
to the
months.
So
I
who
remember now,
does
when
this?
when you
Who
issue
has these type of shares?
I think.
redeemable
common
shares?
shares.
I think it's
I
common
don't
bank.
know.
You don't have to
Remember
have
now,
that.
when you have these shares and you issuing different classes of shares, it's not necessarily that they're gonna go to the public at large.
That's
Sometimes
what I
you
was saying.
actually issue these to the
Mhm.
existing shareholders.
That's
You don't go outside
Yeah.
to the existing ones.
Mhm.
And you say we need to increase capital, we're gonna issue some redeemable shares for a period of 10 years.
Mhm.
And you set the rate.
because it would help too, it has to be to the existing shareholders,
Mhm.
because that's a method
Yeah,
of
yeah.
assisting their shares.
Their shares.
Because they're trying
Ah.
to gain increased capital, that's why we call it corporate action, anything to do with stock split. Increasing capital, we need to perspective and we decide whether you want to participate or not participate
Mhm.
on the banking side.
Preference shares. I know Commonwealth Bank has preference shares.
Yes, we do. Plenty.
Why would someone want to buy preference shares or invest in preference shares?
They get the guaranteed dividends when they're coming out, so they get it even before the ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Fixed
So
dividend.
when they declare, when they
Okay.
declare dividends,
Is that called
So
fixed
they-
dividend?
they actually get a percentage of the
Correct.
profits, a guaranteed percentage of the profit.
First to get the dividends, what else? See, when you invest in shares and a different type of shares, is what you're looking for. If you're looking for money, then you want dividends. If you want to have a say, you won't get this.
We can't work with preference.
Preference is
Example.
non-voting.
No, no.
Yeah, often they're
That's what I
non-voting.
was gonna ask you, same thing, it's
Mhm.
non-voting.
So that's like, oh, you have to wait an option.
You have a better option to why you invest in a
Yeah,
company.
because if you have the preference share and you have the voting
Well, I want-
rights, that's kind of,
Yeah.
That's kinda strange, like you figure they
You
go
can't have
on
it all.
starting in the
You can't have all it.
Yeah.
You can't have it all. As everybody would be getting different, investing in different shares,
Exactly.
and nobody would want that, no.
Right. So let's take BOB. The majority of the shareholders are what? Ordinary.
Yeah.
That is the ordinary citizens, and they normally would send a proxy and ask you to sign it for someone else to vote on your behalf. We know they're redeemable, right? What else about preference shares?
When you say redeemable, we can sell it back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What does that?
Priority of winding up.
And they're not, often not entitled to a share in surplus capital.
They're not what?
Entitled to a share in surplus capital.
But isn't that the same thing as dividends? Cause the dividends won't be paid unless there is excess funds.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't that the same thing? Cause you're saying they're
Mm-mm.
not entitled to share in
They have a priority
surplus
on winding
capital.
up here, and they're not entitled to any share in surplus capital.
So
But
the ordinary shareholders don't have a priority in winding up, as it
Mm-mm.
relates to dividends.
Mm-mm, they get first.
The preference shareholders get the dividends paid out first when you wind up a company,
Right.
and the ordinary shareholders, are last. Or
Yeah, I don't think there's an order.
There's
I
an
can't
order,
remember.
there's
Yeah.
creditors, bondholders,
And all them
the
other people.
preference shares,
Mhm.
and
All the way down.
ordinary shareholders are last.
I don't understand.
That's upon winding up the company, though.
Yeah.
So then,
This, still don't understand that.
I think with this one, with E, are you saying that whatever they paid for the shares, they get back? That's what she's saying, that if
Nothing
the
else.
shares increase in value over time, they would, if they pay for a dollar for the
It's
share, they
fixed.
get a dollar
Yeah,
back.
dollar
But if
back.
the shares are now $2, they would not get $2 for those shares they
Shares.
paid a dollar for.
So you only receive the
What you
purchase
paid.
value.
What you get.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The purchase.
And I've seen this one before, I can't remember whether it was a bank or a company, a deferred ordinary share.
So then if that's the case, then the surplus then goes to what the ordinary
Ordinary.
shareholders?
That's why a lot of people like to be ordinary shareholders.
So they basically get what's left then.
Sometimes nothing left.
Something that most times there's nothing left.
You don't know about the ordinary.
It's a risk.
It is, everything is a
Everything
risk.
is a risk. This whole thing is a risk, each one. But I guess it depends on the type of company you're investing in. That makes a difference, on how much
that's
risk
why-
you wanna take and which.
And that's why
Class
when you
you
see
wanna
someone
buy.
say they invested in a company and in 6 months to 1 year, 2 years, they say the company is just blown out of proportion, it's a risk. Cause other people have done the same thing, invested in a company, and they lost it all. It's just a chance you take. When they first started talking about Google, if they offered them here, how many payments you think would have bought that? Not much. You see, they didn't even take a
Only
chance.
those
Even with
savvy.
Bitcoin.
But they wouldn't even have put a lot into it.
No.
Even like the Bitcoin now, a lot of people are going into it. But people who did it at the very beginning, when they first started, some people said they put $15 in, and then they looked at the thing and gone like for 2,000, so they took the money out quick. Didn't believe it.
You could get the money out of Bitcoin.
Yes, that's like
I
that.
think it's when you,
No, it wasn't real.
no, but it's a digital,
Honest to God, I don't
it's a
know.
digital
One
currency,
guy-
when you see the
Right,
price
one guy told me when
fluctuating
his
up
own
and
reached to
down.
2,000, he took it out, put it in his wallet, and he said he used it to buy books and magazines, and he took his daughter for ice cream. He said his cousin let it stay in there. His cousin no longer works.
No, they have
You
this,
see what I'm saying?
they have this carrot bar thing, you heard about it?
I think if you invest
Yeah, I
now,
remember that
it's
Carol, I
the
remember
best
that
of it now, because a lot of people are, like, say they'll invest 10,000 and they'll make like 20,000 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, you can just pull it out.
Pull it out.
I didn't know you could get it out.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't know
no,
if carrot
it's like
beans, they even
security.
make carrot bar.
It's not true.
It's like a security.
They say it's European.
It's European.
What's that?
Yeah, but someone
What's
said
that?
that to me, but I am not too sure about.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
Excuse
how
my
it works.
tardiness. I had my times all mixed up.
Stand in the back. I am not too, how it works, cause it was sent to me, but I never opened it.
I know, my sister keeps sending it to me, but it seems if you have to buy these coins, you get these gold bars and then coins, and you get the
Mhm.
coins with the bars or something like that. And it's an investment, yeah.
Investment in gold.
Gold, it's an investment in gold, and now they have their own coin.
But you realize gold is the true currency, right?
It is.
It
Yeah,
backs up the
so
dollar
you,
too.
right,
But if
so
it's-
are you investing in gold or are you investing in
In a
a?
coin.
But you
in a-
invest
in a
in gold, they
cryptocurrency.
selling
I don't
gold,
know.
they
I
have a
thought it was
cryptocurrency
I
attached
have
to
some
the gold now.
clients
Okay.
now who
And then you
also
could,
buy.
but with them, I think you can invest in not really pounds, you can invest in grams, the grams of gold.
Uh-huh.
So she has this, my sister's doing it, and I'm not sure about.
How much money is she making?
She, I don't know, I didn't ever ask,
You
but
see,
she
you
have
got
all
it.
these,
Someone
she have all these
invested.
little things.
They invested 2,000 in it.
Uh-huh.
At the moment, they have about 700,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you get it
So
back
you
out
need to
though?
take it out.
That's what I said
You
when
see,
you
because
get
the
it
drugs,
out.
you got seven.
How are you You going get it to out. get this money out?
Because everybody
She
keeps
said
saying,
she
no,
was
my
out.
sister
No,
said,
now.
no, my
Now.
sister said she has she has because I asked her that, she has this debit card,
Card.
where
Yeah,
they
it's a
put
wallet.
their information on
Yes.
it, not a wallet.
Should have a wallet?
No, she actually showed me a
Debit
Carrot
card.
Gold debit card.
It's a visa,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
It's a visa.
I've
And
seen-
now, and they are also, they've opened the bank. The bank
She
is
said in Florida,
Miami,
yeah,
Miami.
but I don't know less about it. I told her I was gonna speak with her
They
later
open their
down.
own bank?
Yes.
Yes.
So the fact, what I wanna know is,
In
cause I know for
Miami,
some
but she
US
sent me the
securities, you have to
video.
be a US citizen for this one, what is this?
The regulator?
Well, how is it regulated by?
I don't think we have any regulators.
There are no regulators for that.
Not for that, not here
No.
locally that I know of, but
There are
there
no
is
regulators.
abroad. I think in Florida, I can't remember, because we did look it up.
But I know people
So
who
it's
say
an
they've
asset
done it,
back
but
security
they,
to say that you purchased school and attached to it is.
Well, I think they
No,
have all
it's
their,
not.
they have all their records because, she was saying how one of her friends was able to pay off her mortgage.
Yes.
yeah, because
I
it's
think
tracked
they
on,
buy
it's tracked on the
they buy,
technology.
yeah, they buy the gold, and as they buy the gold, it's something like how that thing was years ago, Amway, where
Mhm.
you bring in people and you get a percentage of theirs, because she was nagging me for
Oh,
months.
okay.
Oh,
I
that's
like
that
that.
to the
But then-
top is we're doing.
Okay,
But
thank
huh?
you. I know been in there
Yeah,
longer.
but the people who are doing the crypto doing it different,
No, but they have crypto coin
In addition.
in addition to it.
because you purchase the currency, other people purchase the currency, so it's trading.
It's trading.
But you have the
And then
coins,
it
they
goes
have
up
the
and down.
coins, they have,
Cryptocurrency, all it is a digital currency.
Currency, that's all it is,
But
and
they
it's
have it,
trading,
they
watch it
have
go
that.
up and down, and then as it increases in value, you can just take it out.
Yeah, so
or
when
can
you
let it
buy
sit.
when it's low and you sell
Sell
when
when
it's
it's
high.
high,
because I remember speaking to
but
governor
that
about
gold
it.
bar thing sounds too complicated to me.
That sounds.
Yeah.
You know, you
No,
take
but
the
I
money and
remember
put it
speaking
in.
to governor
That
about
sounds
it,
easy
he said it's legit. However, there are other companies, so they're doing the same thing, and he didn't like the concept, because I remember speaking to him, she was nagging me a couple of months about it.
Yeah, I don't like that gold
Yeah,
bar thing,
and
I
then-
don't want to invest
and
in
then-
gold.
but he
Now, I
said
hear them say they have this
It's a legit
gold coin,
but
crypto,
some of the other
that's what they
people
say
do
it
the
is.
same thing,
This
that's
is
all
their
he
currency
said.
that they're
Right.
trading on the platform.
I think it is
It's,
legit.
it's different,
It coin, it's like the cryptocurrency has this coin attached to it.
yeah,
So it's sort of like an asset
yeah.
back.
But then, see, when they start talking about you need, other people like how Amway is, then that brings you to a pyramid scheme.
Yes.
It's built on people.
I think
Crypto is not built on
No,
physical
it's not,
people.
it's not that it's built on people, you make money in addition
get
to
commission
it,
then.
right,
You
in
get
addition to your
commission.
goal, which
Alright,
you're storing up.
alright.
Because last year she went to Europe, at a convention they had, as a group of them from the Bahamas went to this place in Europe, they
But
had a
that's still different from
convention.
the people who trade for Bitcoin. They
Yeah,
don't do
they
that.
have a different stuff,
They're
because,
totally
but
different.
their coin is attached to their gold.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
okay, they did it like that, but then they have it structured like a scheme.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
it's the
saying?
same
See, I
way.
think when they initially started, it started like a scheme, a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
That was the first phase. And then there was a second phase where you were able to invest in these cryptocurrencies. And
Okay.
that's how they established this bank
So
and
you
all
would,
this
Oh.
you
other
would
stuff.
use your goal to invest in cryptocurrency?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a whole crypto world out there where you get, certain employers, they would pay their employees in cryptocurrency, you have the option of being paid in it. And you can
Mhm.
actually go online, they have online stores, you even buy like grocery clothes and
Yeah.
cryptocurrency, so they're trying to build a whole digital world.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
a good thing
Mhm.
though. If
But
it-
the
if
gold
it's
bar
bar
now
was
they're
ironic
trading
from that,
the
when they talk
actual
about.
Yes,
currency,
they
like
know
how
Because
you
the person
trade-
keeps to listen
trade
and
the
keep
Bitcoin,
asking me, I must
US
come to the
dollar,
meeting,
whatever.
so why come to the meeting, why can't I just invest it online?
But
So that's
Yeah,
why
that's
they
what I
like
don't
the
like,
gold bar thing.
I don't like that
Tell
thing.
me.
before you invest, and if you would want to go to the meeting to find out what
I
the
think
company is
I think
all
it's
about.
stressful, but she
See,
keeps
at the
sending
end
me
of
all
the day,
Yeah,
this.
but I'm saying, just like she's saying, this
She-
person
she
she
said
sent me
it's
all these
stressful.
emails.
That's what I say.
I must
Every time I
come to
look
the
at my
meeting and
WhatsApp,
listen,
she's
when I
sending me
come,
something
I'm
new.
coming as their guest.
Yeah.
Crypto don't
I
work that
understand what
way.
you're saying.
Crypto is you just go in and you
Yeah.
just invest
Just don't
and
be
just watch the market.
I think,
Yeah.
this is too good to be true.
be
And it's too much information
part of
one
that
time.
first phase.
Exactly,
That
so
pyramid
the minute
scheme.
you start saying that, that's a pyramid scheme,
Yes.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I want to like the rest do, put their $100 in the machine
then
and
I
watch
see
it
that
as it
right
goes,
away.
when it hit 2,000, I take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just, you to be a trader basically.
Yeah.
Trading.
Yeah.
And people do that every day.
But she said
Well,
not
that's what I
everybody
wanna know how
has
to get
to
it out.
participate in pyramid, because I tell her that ain't me.
No.
But I keep telling her that we can
That's
talk
the
later,
thing with
I ain't talked
sales,
yet, but.
if you
No.
have
Yes,
a
it's
sales
no.
personality where you,
But you
sit
find a young
constantly
person, a
going.
young person can tell you just how to go in
Cause she was
and
saying
do
that
your
one of the
Bitcoin.
ladies, she's a
Yeah.
police officer,
Easier.
Yeah.
her son went with her to the meeting, and he's now sponsoring his own self in university from it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but that's,
he's just
yeah, but
selling
remember
them.
when all those first started when there was a lot of people said they
Yeah,
said bought
they-
house and
yeah.
afterwards what happened? This went right down to nothing
Yeah,
because it can't sustain itself.
Yeah, because I know I used to sell Tupperware, and
Yeah.
you always have to host a party. Not every time you're gonna have somebody who's gonna host a party for you to make a
Mhm.
sale.
And then, exactly. And so it crumbles.
Yeah.
So if you do it,
After a while,
other people
everybody
are doing
have
it, they
to-
just
all
go
your
and
friends
invest.
have
Some
Tupperware.
currency.
Only so much parties you can
When we
have.
host,
Yeah.
yeah, in your circle, after
And
a
it's,
while.
and then only so much Tupperware you can have.
Yeah, only a couple of your friends can have
So-
their shared Tupperware.
So there we go. Then they have management shares. They carry extra voting rights,
What did we say, but deferred ordinary?
no dividends,
Oh,
until another class is received, so you just defer yours.
oh,
Yeah. I think some of the banks have that too, deferred.
No dividends until a class.
Another class, so you defer it. So when you purchase the shares, and you see the section say you want deferred, they'll tell you which class, you pay it after. Cause you could have ordinary shares in different classes.
Okay, I think that's what you call it.
Yeah, so you could say you are a deferred ordinary shareholder and you pay it after class 4.
Okay, so basically it's the priority.
You know, you're right,
Okay.
you're deferred. Then you have the management shares, that's a class of shares carrying extra voting rights, so as to retain control of the company in certain shareholders' hands. And normally the original shareholders, let's say if you started a company with just 2 of you, you now need to raise more money. So you're gonna issue more shares. And what you try to do is for the very 2 initial shareholders, it was their idea, they'll try to have management shares in order to retain control.
yeah, because you see some people form their companies and they lose their companies.
And they lose their company like that. So when you watch a lot of African movies, you'll see when they first start their companies, the company may just be the husband and wife or 2 brothers. Then because they need to raise capital, they go out. In order to keep control of your company and direct where it needs to go, you need to make your 2 shares management shares. Otherwise, they take over full control.
How does that work? The other classes, it's a different class then for the other persons?
Yeah, they could be ordinary, they could be
Oh,
preferred.
okay.
But you make your shares management shares, because you want to have
And
control.
make theirs
You want to have more power and
Okay.
saying how the company is to be run,
Okay.
Yes, you have to be careful how you issue
how you issue
shares.
shares.
Like how the guy
And what
from
the
Thomas
memo
Shabbat.
not speak to those shareholders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so before you go out to increase your shareholders, then what you will do is amend it,
Amend the article.
amend it, before you get additional shareholders, because you want to retain control. So before you do a lot of things in a company, you have to sit down and figure out, when I do this, what rights am I giving these people?
Okay.
What liabilities am I going to be exposed to? And being a shareholder, one of the key things after that is how much control do I want to retain on my company? If I want to increase shareholders, but move out of it, the company altogether, I don't need management shares. I could just take ordinary shares if I want to vote. If I don't want nothing, I just want money from it, then you keep the preference shares.
Okay, so if you wanna go like partially IPO, you could say you hold 51% and then you will have you issue 49%, so you hold the majority.
Majority of the shares. See, everything is about control. Either you want to retain control or you want to relinquish control. So at the bottom I have that you could have shares in lots of different classes in just one company. Depends on what you want to do.
Okay, I have another question.
Mhm.
With reference to passing the corporate bill, say a company goes IPO 100%, and members of the board of directors, when they pass that corporate bill, if the company has been detected for fraud or anything, the legal they will hold the directors liable versus the public.
Mhm. And then we already mentioned the M&A. Okay? So nominal value of shares, a company has shares of nominal value or par value or no par value.
Okay, so we need to break down par value versus non-par value.
Mm-hmm.
Does par value mean like, is that?
$2 per share.
$2 per share?
No, that's what par value.
Par value give it an actual dollar figure.
$2 per share.
Mm-hmm. What's nominal value?
I didn't hear a question.
par value versus nominal value. I think you have a case in your book.
So that they are more shares and more votes. So nominal value would be, how much shares per dollar? I see you here under management shares, it says you can either, increase the
Nominal.
voting rights to contain control, or by having a smaller nominal value for such shares so that they are more shares, so there are more shares and more votes per dollar invested. That's under management shares. Okay.
Okay, so listen to this one. It says here, if a company has 100 shares and I hold 30 shares, I can exercise 30% of the votes in the company, which gives me the power to block a special resolution.
So what's the, how does nominal value,
We ain't get there yet.
Yeah, really, yeah,
Okay.
cause I was trying to get.
so basically you just said they hold 30 shares, so
Shares,
they
yeah.
have 30% of the voting rights.
And they can block
And
a
they could block
resolution.
it because it needs at least what, 100%?
No,
read it again,
no,
read it again, sorry.
no.
You would need a majority.
Need a
You already
majority.
have 30.
Already have 30.
So you have 30, and it's only 100 shares, right?
Right, so you could block
You
it.
could block it, cause you only have 30.
Cause you have 30, yeah.
You
One
could,
person have 30,
no, but you could block it if someone else isn't on the same side as you, because the majority would be, if it's 70 that vote yes and you only vote no,
Depending on
then
the class of
30.
shares.
It depends on.
Depending on who has the voting right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Mhm.
read it, I missed it.
It says, if a company has 100 shares and I hold 30, I can exercise 30% of the votes in the company.
Okay.
It gives me the power to block a special resolution.
So she have management shares or something like that?
No, the shares.
No, because if you have,
Voting
let's say
rights.
if you have
Voting
30,
rights,
yeah,
the
you
shares
have
that have
30
voting
shares.
rights.
And some, not, some,
Unless only
Everybody else, like, only
50%
have
have
one or
voting
two.
rights.
But
Well,
a special resolution may call for a certain percentage to be
Percentage,
passed.
it have to be at least 80% of
Back to the
agreement.
amendments then.
Yes.
So you have to find out what the company is,
The constituted
what's the
documents, what it say
constitution?
in
Yes.
what it speaks to on,
What it
right?
speaks to for each one. Okay, so here what it speaks about price, cause I didn't bring my book for shares.
So the memo normally would tell you how much the shares
So
worth, each
yeah.
shares is worth.
Yeah, because in the articles, in the memorandum, there's a section where, that should include the authorized
price.
share capital,
Mhm.
And the price of
which you
shares.
share, and the class of shares.
So, cause normally the nominal share is $1.
Generally, typically it is
A dollar. So par value would be, what is the going price of the share?
Would it be sold at?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Value, market value, that's
Yeah,
right.
$3,
Yeah, 'cause
12
sometimes
cents or
it'll
whatever
say
it
it'll be
is.
issued at $1 par value,
Yeah.
or $2 par value.
Mm-hmm.
So if you invest 5,000, you'll get, if it's $2, if it's $1, you'll get 5,000 shares.
Shares.
And if it's $2 each, you'll get 2,500 shares.
Mm-hmm. So it depends on how it's done.
So par value is the market value of the shares.
What it's sold at.
I'm trying to find it in here. But there's only a case thing and I didn't bring it.
Yeah, let me see this memorandum here, what you gave us, let me see if that has anything in it. Yeah, this one
The
says.
first section, let me see what you.
No, that's a case study
This
there.
one don't have par value in it, just say.
What's that?
It just
$2
have nominal
each.
value.
And then it
Okay,
says class
yeah,
of
it says
share.
nominal value.
Yes, on the Memanon section though.
And what is then no par value?
No value at all. Just issue the shares.
So nominal value is what?
Nominal
dollar.
par value or no par value. And I didn't bring my book.
Nominal is
So
the
what can
dollar,
we
right?
say nominal
Nominal should be
value
the
is?
dollar.
No,
And then-
okay.
And then you
Yeah,
say
please
in
go
par
for it.
value is the
Yeah.
market value of the share?
Yeah, that should be the par. Hold on, let me see
What
if
is
I-
sold, and what is sold at, right? Does it get
Yeah.
different?
Or it's gold.
Oh, no. I have no, I don't charge
I didn't
it.
bring my book today.
I didn't bring my book
I bring
today.
mine because it's so expensive.
Oh, Wikipedia. Say power value is the face value of the company.
Yeah, it's a calculation.
Okay, so it's saying normal value of stock, the nominal value of a company's stock or par value is an arbitrary value assigned to the balance after issuing share capital.
Yeah, cause
And
normally
it's
say the
typically
normally
$1
say
or
$1
less.
or less,
It
yeah,
has
normally
no
$1.
relation to the market price.
No.
Which one? The
Nominal
nominal
value.
Right, nominal is $1.
Mhm.
Normal, and it has no relation to the market value.
And then the par value is market value of the share.
Right, and then the next paragraph tells you the significance of attaching a value to the share. And we know why, because it gives you the extent of the liability. Because you know, a company has authorized capital. And then it has paid up capital. So the meaning it still has 2,000 more shares to issue. And it can do that in different classes. By the memo and acts, the company can decide what is their authorized capital.
Okay, so basically, just the basic is 5,000,
Right.
right?
But they don't have to issue all
You
at
have
one
to
time.
issue all at
No.
one time. Okay, I got you.
Right? Because they can still raise the capital that they need to start their operation without issuing all of their shares by the price they sell it for.
I just have a question, is, maybe it's me, is money actually involved at this stage?
Yes.
Okay, I just asking.
Don't forget, now we're talking shares.
I know, but I
You wanna
mean,
buy shares? you
I
have to
think
pay
from
for it.
IBC point of view, that's what I'm asking. Is money really?
Yeah,
Most of the
Okay.
time.
yeah. They need the capital to start a company.
But we can get that.
Yeah, you need capital. Once you talk about capital, you're talking about shares.
Okay.
The capital of a company is in shares.
So when you go and incorporate a company,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically telling the registry, this is the amount of capital that, and shares that my company is authorized to issue. And if you wanna increase that, then you have to go back to them to
You have the men.
amend the articles to say, so what, naturally, I can only issue 5,000 shares.
That's it.
If that's what I register the company for.
And you set your price.
But that doesn't mean that I already got $5,000 worth of these shares.
No, but when you,
Depending on the
right,
value.
when you're ready to start the company, for the company to operate, it needs to have a capital.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to issue your shares. So after you incorporate your memo and arts, then you're gonna issue your shares. That's when you get your share register book.
Right,
Yeah.
So then you say, okay, the three of us said that we were going to be shareholders.
right.
How many shares are you going to buy?
We have 5,000?
Yeah?
Okay.
I mean, if you're gonna sell three.
You could
And we're only
buy-
selling 3.
When he's selling
But we need
each
to,
of you will get one.
but we need to raise 10,000 to
Each
get
of you
started.
will
So each of
one.
us will get one, so we only sell it
So
three.
the company will only really have $3 now, when each you get one, if it's $1 each,
Mhm.
but then you'll need to sell the other 4,000, whatever.
It depends on how much money you wanna raise when you first start.
Okay, that's,
Or is it possible for when you start an IBC that each of you get one share, so you're actually shareholders, and then you can make a capital, investment?
Now,
You can
at the very
invest
beginning,
capital
remember at the
into
very
it.
beginning, when you file your M&A, that's done by subscribers,
Yes.
which is normally the law firm or the FCSP.
Two subscribers.
Two
for an
subscribers.
IBC.
That's it. After that, is when the actual capital starts.
Starts when they
The
appoint-
real shareholder,
appoint the directors and issue the shares.
they issue the shares. So that's when you say, okay, I'll buy 2,000 shares at $1 each. And she says, I'll buy 1,500 at $1 each.
I still,
So realistically, that's what's supposed to happen in a company for an IBC, because you have some IBCs where you have, say someone, they wanna start a company for whatever purpose, even if it's just an investment holding company. They'll have the 2 subscribers, incorporate, appoint the directors, and then they'll issue 1 share to themselves. And then later on, they will actually just invest money into the company, like the company will open an account.
But then,
And they'll
no,
invest
but when
money
you,
into
but
the
that, like
company,
that, that company is acting in a nominee capacity.
And nominate
So
capacity.
they will have a nominee shareholder agreement.
Cause I've seen that happen before.
Yeah, they act in a nominee capacity.
But in all actuality, the shares should be issued out to, receive the capital, the initial capital.
But they do it through the nominee instead. So the actual shareholder gives the money to the nominee.
Okay.
But on record, it's the nominee that holds the share. Got it?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like you get it.
I got it.
Because you're
Some
talking about
people have-
IBC versus
some
a regular
people-
company.
Some people just open IBCs not for an operational business.
No.
But they use it to just hold
Hold
assets.
assets.
Like they'll say, they'll put a name of a property in the IBC's name, or they'll open up an
Securities.
account and say they wanna transfer all of their assets out of their name personally and put it in the company's name. So they'll transfer to the account, the company's account or whatever. Or they'll use the company to purchase different assets,
Rather than using their name.
their name, so they're not personally liable for it. So that's why I asked for that, because I know there are a few people that would open up an IBC, but they'll only issue 1 share to themselves. They'll be the sole shareholder, and they wouldn't
Because the
necessarily
company isn't actually making
issue
money.
all the shares, it's just an investment
It's just an
holding
investment
company.
holding.
Like
But
some
for
people do for
operational
social,
companies,
when they
it's
don't wanna
different.
share their profits and stuff with their spouses.
They'll do that.
Yeah, you can do it like that.
Okay.
We got it? Alright, so there are different types of capital. You have nominal capital, what's that? Nominal capital. Same as what I put here as the authorized capital. It's the total of the nominal value of the shares. Then you have the issued capital. Total of the shares which are being allotted to the shareholders. And then you have to pay it, this once where cash is
so
actually
what
being
is a
exchanged.
nominal share?
A nominal share? A company can set what they call an authorized in their memorandum, they can actually set an authorized capital, a nominal value for their shares. That the maximum amount of shares that they will issue will be 5,000.
So the nominal capital is the authorized capital?
Yes. So that's the total amount, and then you can say how much of it you're going to issue. And paid up is how many of it is actually paid for.
So then you say how much you wanna issue, and the payoff.
How much you actually paid for.
Okay.
and then the difference is unpaid. So let's just say you have authorized capital of 5, you have paid up of 3, but you know that some of the shareholders have already said that they're going to pay for an additional 200. So when the time comes, they're still obligated to pay that 200. Cause it's unpaid,
Oh, cause they've already committed to that.
committed to it,
Okay.
yes. So paid up and unpaid is equal to what we call a called up capital, which means that any time we can tell you need to bring the balance of what you owe.
Would you say pay it up?
Paid up and unpaid. Cause remember, you could have paid up one portion, but then you're obligated to pay for the remaining 200. So we can call you up to say you need to bring in the balance of your money.
Okay, so it's authorized capital of 5. Paid up is
The actual cash.
the actual cash you got, okay. And the unpaid,
Is the balance that you pledged, but you haven't paid for it as yet.
okay.
You're still obligated to pay it.
So they would therefore ask them to say, okay, I need you to pay, like if they need a little bit more
They
capital.
call
or
and say,
something.
yes, it's
Okay.
time to pay. So then we have real value of shares. What's the real value of shares?
The price of.
Juan at the front, she get her shares in the brewery. What's the real value of
The
those
value
shares?
of it is on the market.
Market value.
Yeah. What's the real value of them? Cause them things don't move much. You know what it is? Juan, how much is it?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't, you just collect the dividends.
That's right.
They pay dividends every quarter?
Yeah, I think so. Or twice I think, no, twice a year.
And they're on the 6, right? Yeah, so they bid on the stock exchange.
In the illustration she gave you, you said we use a nominee shareholder, right? If we transfer the shares back to the beneficiary or the owner of the actual shares, is
We
it
don't transfer
considered-
it, you hold it in trust.
Then there's a nominee, right? But if I give it back to the person who actually owns it? Take away
So
the
they
nominee.
name.
It's still, is it considered paid up or we have to pay again if we change the nominee?
No, the nominee acts as if he is,
Okay,
so that wouldn't change.
that wouldn't change.
No,
Okay.
cause when it says paid up, even though it's in his name,
Mhm.
he doesn't actually own it.
Okay. Okay.
The real person stands behind, but the legality for all operation of the shares has already taken place as if the real owner had done it.
Okay.
Shares and bonds.
Yeah.
The bills,
They built
something different.
treasury bills.
Bills, shares and bonds.
How does that work?
What?
They pay it back over time or something?
Okay.
I mean guaranteed, they get that guaranteed dividends or something, right? Yeah. So it's a lot for them.
Like you buy it at 99 or something like that, and they pay you back, so it's not 100%. It's $100, basically.
For the
what it is.
T-bill.
It's just for the T-bill.
For the what?
For the
Treasury bills.
Treasury bills.
Treasury.
And the country bill.
And register stock as at par.
It's not much, it's just stable investment, really.
Yeah.
It's not that much. Return and.
Right, you
The
don't, you
return
only,
is better than the
Yeah,
CD.
it's on, yeah.
Much better than the CD.
Yeah.
Because the bank is giving you what, 0.001?
I know.
so they only
Depends.
return you, they give you
That.
back
How
what
much?
you paid in
You know,
there.
some of the
100%.
points
Yeah, but you
advertised.
get
Right.
100% your
But no
profit.
interest or
You
nothing?
get interest twice a year.
Yeah, twice
Because
a
the
year.
interest is attached to it.
Right now it's at 5%.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's 5% plus 100%.
So after the term for those
Hold
ones.
on, let's tell me what interest you offering.
We have 0.75.
0.75 to 5?
No, I ain't comparing it to the government, but I just saying compared to Scotia and but they 0.002 and
Yeah.
0.001. But we get 0.75, we get the highest rate on the market.
For what? For.
For fix.
For fixed accounts,
No,
yeah.
the credit unions are better.
I say banks,
Banks.
We can't compete with the credit union.
No, credit unions are
Yeah,
different
we
pool of
can't,
money.
we can't compete with that.
Don't forget, a lot of that stuff comes out of their salary automatically. That's
No,
different.
you don't have to, it all depends, like the Paradise Island is the one that was Paradise Island is optional, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Oh, it is?
Say that again.
No, she talking about the credit unions.
Ain't none of the banks on.
That's so quiet.
Has a high rate too.
Y'all keep
Very high.
hopping on service. This is technological age.
Even there,
The service is in the technology.
even there, the service is also
Stinks,
What
yeah.
do you mean, the machines?
good, and the online, and
No, the machines
I'm not
break
even
down.
talking about going in the branch, but people after serving, talking about what they're offering, you always having an issue with their,
There'll always be hiccups when there's something new.
you know.
Yeah.
But you know what it is, that's what the customers ask for, you know.
They ask for
The
that.
customers ask for technology.
They ask for it, now they have it.
When we used to carry books, everybody make all kind of noise for the books, right? Oh, technology. When we know we have a big pool of people who like the books, so we cancel the books, give them to senior citizen. Everybody mad now. You know, why y'all don't do the books anymore? So it's like you can't,
book.
y'all didn't want it.
That's not part of it.
No.
No, they're not over the book.
No,
But
they
part
are.
of the problem is,
They are not.
9 out of 10 times you go in the bank with your book, the machine down, they can't update it anyway.
Right.
No, we are, all our tellers have the printers by them, so they are never down.
Well, what
You
bank
know?
you work for?
So,
Hold on, what bank you work for?
but we always, but my thing is, I'm just saying,
No, I never had
when
a
we
problem
say,
with coming bank in my book.
we
And I
say,
use some
customers
of it.
say the technology, right? And then when you give them the technology becomes a problem, and then, and
But
that's
how?
what-
How does technology become a problem?
Everybody
She
in
say,
technology.
it's down or whatever, so it becomes a problem for people.
Everybody is on tech savvy. Everybody know how to.
But that's the risk in
online.
technology.
Yeah,
You don't
that's
put it
what we
right
say.
in your book,
That's
then you
what
have
we
to depend
saying.
on a
That's what
computer.
she said.
That's what we
That's what she
saying,
said.
you know?
Let me
I
be a
went
little
to one
bit
of the
more
banks.
specific, okay?
Their
There's some
machine was
people
down.
A particular
And
bank.
they can
No,
They
green.
can't write my book
Uh-huh.
updated.
Ain't
So,
why.
and you have to write
No.
it
Yeah,
down.
that's
Please,
right.
I-
Amy banks right now.
I never had no problem with
But they
it.
right.
Don't worry, I'm
Yeah, y'all
not-
are.
And then
I'm
the
not
next time
loving
you
you
get
guys.
No, but they haven't published it.
But y'all are not
But I
together,
like
they
the fact
do.
that you could walk
No,
in.
cause what happens, we just change over into the online banking to get the app,
Mhm.
and
It ain't working too good.
no, it's working, but we don't have the manpower for the amount of the
functioning.
customer, because I think we did not realize how many people are not tech savvy, so when we think, okay, we always have the online banking, but let's get the app. When I say, as easy as that may sound, that's an issue. So you have customers coming in, how to work this app, how to
No,
download
man,
this
I have
app.
the app, I
You know?
haven't put all my play money in
So-
Fidelity.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So
because
that's what it is, so it's now the influx.
It's so sweet.
No, because now you have to create a
You know, you
technical
put your money
department,
Mhm.
customer service
Yeah.
But
department.
see, I think because everyone
Everything
else
you
had
do,
the apps,
you get a tax.
people, we thought
Oh,
you do an
everything
app
you
without
do,
being like,
you
it's like
get
nothing for
it.
people to go
Fidelity.
on, but we didn't
Fidelity.
realize how many
Every
people are not
transaction
tech
I make,
savvy.
She's every transaction she does on
can't.
Amazon, she get a text.
Whatever, whatever
Maybe they ask you
withdraw.
if this is
No,
what you're
because
doing,
I know
or
I
it is that
started
you know.
with Royal
Withdrawal.
Bank, I started my
Everything they
app
send
with
me
them.
tax.
But just to sign up, there was
Is it?
certain things I did not,
Oh.
I tech savvy, but then it's just
Yeah.
sometimes the instructions
And
are
then they
clear,
have
so
the
you wanna speak to a person.
And then
No,
we
Charlie,
didn't
you gotta
have
go
the,
to rap.
Fidelity.
and then we didn't
That's
have
how
the
they
people,
go,
yeah.
you have to have about
my
20 people
my
stand by,
In and out.
taking
my
calls,
Yeah.
because of app issues.
instantly.
And that's the truth, so, you
Well,
know,
that's
so
good.
we,
That's
if
good.
we
That's
think
good.
about
I
it,
said,
it's
see
done
all
in
the
the
Fidelity
phases.
is, yeah, cause like,
Yeah, well, that's
I
good.
think it was changing now.
But this
Well,
day,
yeah.
Yeah.
Fidelity is
What
charged,
reason?
their
Oh,
fee is
really?
just went
Well,
up.
they need to
And
stick to
Fidelity.
technology, cause
Oh,
no,
Fidelity,
if
and Fidelity have a lot of hidden fees.
Transaction
We
is-
See,
Fidelity
that's what I'm
online.
saying, now you see, you
Yeah.
get, she get this
What I'm
technology,
saying
is
but not
that-
as in the fees high.
The fees
No,
are very
what I-
high.
Fees are
The
very
fees
high.
are very
I
high.
buy
And I
Fidelity
just saying from,
every
I
time.
just saying the fees are very high and
I
they
pay
have a lot of fine print
first
at Fidelity.
guy
I had more my
Whenever I
salary
pay
in
money at
Fidelity.
Fidelity,
Because
and
the
you know,
account I
you
opened,
want-
they, at first they
sometimes you
said,
carry
because
it, and I
the
don't
money
know
was
how
being
much
wide and there were no
Good
fees.
money
account
makes
and
up for that.
Then,
ordering for
first
your
2
one,
months
but
it
see
came
all
in, no
money.
fees,
Yeah.
no fees. Then
That's
I
how they
see
get people.
Then they
$15
backdate it.
missing out my
Yeah.
But you're only
account.
using it for that purpose.
So I
Yeah.
wouldn't feel
the
like,
impact
oh,
of it.
we've
Naturally.
implemented,
Right.
because I send my
Right.
my salary
Yeah.
back to the next.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Even
send
the-
an email to work, I said, please send my salary back.
Even-
Everybody
Yeah.
No, but this
But I
might
mean, some banks are more extreme than others.
Yeah,
Like
but
for
even
instance,
with
for
them
one
loans-
bank, for you to do
I
an
pay myself every
an
month.
internal transfer from one account to the next, both are Royal is $6.
What?
Yes.
But I think Royal Bank even have a monthly. They
And
even
then
have
for
a
you to
monthly
withdraw, for you
maintenance
to
fee.
go in and deposit
You
money,
mean
it's $1.
automatically?
For me to deposit money for
You
you.
automatically transfer
we
from
don't.
one to the next when you pay
We don't.
$6?
Yeah, somebody I knew had an account there. That's
Where?
what, that's
Royal
what was on
Bank.
their
And a monthly
statement.
Yeah,
maintenance
Royal
fee.
is high fees.
Oh my
If
God.
For
you
you need to go deposit
Very high.
$20 in the bank, you have to pay $1. It doesn't matter the
Well, let's say
nominal
First
value.
Caribbean is charging $10 to cash check or something. If someone give you a check, and
If
you
you're
do
not
not
an
well,
existing
if you
customer.
you and
If
you
you
have
don't-
to.
if you-
So I give
If
you
you
a
don't
check
have, no,
and you go
RBC
to
too.
them.
If you don't
have
have
to
an
pay.
account, if you don't have an
If you don't have
account
an
with them,
account,
They're
you
not
have to
gonna
pay.
pay,
no, they're gonna pay, you have to pay.
You have to
But
pay.
why? Because let me tell you,
And
what
you
they
have to
have to
provide
realize
chief
is that
identification.
not you who come in to cash a check is their customer. The person who wrote that check to you is a Royal Bank customer. So you should want your customers to write checks, and all you're doing is stopping them from doing that. Because you will now complain to me,
I don't want to take a check.
I want to take your check or $10
Go
more on
and
it
get-
or
Go and
something.
get it,
I
or
know,
go and
that-
bring it.
that's
Yeah.
what
I
I'm
know
doing.
that happened to me with RBC.
When you open up an account, you have to say to yourself,
So
one,
now
say
you
that money is not
Then you wanna
yours.
take
Yes,
$16.
your
If you
customer.
go to invest
Yeah.
500,
I
all
know
you
that.
say
on
is
the
in your
non-customer,
Positive.
but that's your
Yeah,
customer
it's
who
not-
having
no.
the
So
issue.
you
I
don't
didn't
have
like
to
it.
pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
They
it's
don't listen to
$15, then you
But
buy
then-
a
It's
charge.
ridiculous, and I think First Caribbean went up to $16 on that.
For what?
For what?
Cashing a check that does not belong to, I telling you, when I went through customs the
If you
other
don't
day,
have- if you
the
don't have
customs
an account,
officer
right.
told me that.
$10,
The customs
$10,
officer, you know, there's actually where you work, whatever, and he was like,
Thank you, when you pay
First
me,
Caribbean
you
is a
put
mess,
that-
he must have got a rebate
You
for
have to put that
a
extra
check for
money on.
Cable Bahamas, and he wanted to go there to cash a check. And he said, the customs officer said they charge him $15 plus VAT.
Yeah.
But
getting-
RBC is
If
charging
you're not,
16.
if you don't have an account there.
16 or 30?
Because
That's
you
it.
know,
They're trying to encourage
Deposit it to your own
you.
account.
Yeah,
It does, that's what they
Yeah.
want, they want you to deposit it to your
Your
own
own
account.
account,
But I-
and then go through the
but
system.
But
they
then
should-
you don't have an account with them, so you still have to pay it.
No,
No,
you
go
don't.
back to
You want-
your
you want
bank.
to go to
Your
your
bank.
bank, yeah,
They
bank.
want you
And
to
then
go
let
to,
them
that's
clear
the,
it.
that's the
Or they
intent.
want to
And let
encourage you
them
to open
clear,
an
yeah.
account with them.
Oh, anyone you want.
That's too much bank accounts.
You know,
Yeah.
but like I said, the person who
But
wrote
it's
the
for-
check
to stop
is their
fraud.
customer, and that's unfair,
Too much
that's
fraud.
unfair to them.
But I like Fidelity for my little stuff.
I see that.
Let's keep it current.
But if we all say
Yeah,
it's
but
more
that is
fees.
really good.
No,
But
but
I
that's
use
okay.
my
No, but
debit
she's
card
doing it
or my
like that.
credit
She's
card,
okay
they
because
send me
she's
a
only
text
doing it for those
automatically,
particular
and tell me what the
So she's
balance
saying-
is, that they're really good with that, they
Yeah.
Because
just,
it's, what's this, it's
Especially
only a
when you're
frame
traveling,
for.
when you're traveling.
Yeah.
I put the
when you
bulk
go
of my
for
money on my
face-to-face
Fidelity
banking,
account. When I'm
You do it that
traveling.
way too?
Yeah, because they keep you.
Fidelity.
And she
They
spicy,
don't
she can
also
see,
make
yeah.
like
So
how
she'll know
come
if someone
like
else use a
that's
card,
good
then she
face-to-face?
say, oh, I didn't
Yeah.
make this purchase.
Fidelity doesn't have that.
And that's
They
why-
good on the
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah, that's what our customers like, especially the old
Doesn't think of that.
And then all,
So it's a
all
Visa?
you're counting. Yeah,
So you use a Visa card
Uh-huh.
abroad too? Use it
Yeah,
at
I have a
Walmart?
Fidelity Visa
Use it
card.
at Walmart?
If
I
I,
shop at Walmart. I like Walmart.
if they,
What's all the truth?
You don't settle upon the fence, right? You don't get that,
Well, I
right?
go to
Okay,
Sam's, I go to
that's right,
Sam's.
yes,
She buys
okay.
bulk.
Okay, you buy bulk.
I go to Sam's twice a
Okay,
year.
so she's with
Okay.
Walmart, cause you know, we know
Yeah,
Sam's
yeah,
is
but
Well,
I'm saying-
okay, cause
There's
it's,
Sam Walton and Sam's is Walmart.
Yeah, but
Okay,
okay.
my girl.
I don't like- I don't like
Now, when you go to
Walmart
Walmart,
too.
Walmart stuff come directly
It's
from
so-
China. They pay
I
1
can't
cent.
talk
Yeah.
because
And they charge
when I
you
go to my
what
home,
they
I only
think
go
you
with
will
them
pay
if
for
I
in the
have to
market
pay.
price.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
too.
that's why
Yeah,
they
they
always
go-
tell them roll back.
But
They
from
can
Walmart,
That's why they
roll
could
back.
roll back.
made from Walmart, mama.
Well, that's why they
You
do
can
roll back
over
egg.
here.
Cause it's cheap
Get
labor.
robbed over here.
Yeah, because they're buying it through there.
Yeah, so you might as well go over there
No,
and
no,
get you see?
I met someone who
But
shops
Walmart expensive,
for their
you know.
stuff
It
in
is.
China.
When
And
they
it
finish
says
Oh, you
sometimes
mean
Walmart.
equivalent?
But you know what?
And they said you buy it in China
Yeah,
for
but then
1
you
cent or
finish-
2
You
cents.
can spend
You go in
$100.
Walmart and they selling you for
And you-
8, 10, 12, and $24, but it only costs them 1
You
cent.
get more
Because
things.
think about how many they're buying.
Yeah.
It's
Get
more.
robbed.
But you
So
know,
that person
in
goes
fairness,
directly
people
to
use
that. You know what it is?
Walmart. I mean,
Trump is about
Okay.
to make, that's gonna affect Walmart.
But it's
But
only
you know what I did the other
Yeah.
day? I
You
know
know
what
what
I
they
bought,
do?
I bought all
Yeah.
my toilet
It's
soap,
only
my
me when I
hand
come, I
towels,
bought-
toilet tissues,
See my
right from,
disadvantage?
multi-discount, their prices ain't bad,
See
you know,
my baby.
multi-discount on Lowe's and on end of the month.
But you know
I've been
what?
buying my stuff from them, because Walmart, I found out that you can't buy Paul Mitchell and those from Walmart, they're not the real Paul Mitchell.
No, they're not.
But I find a lot of people
So
think
I-
they go
so-
and shop.
But I
Probably
did,
they
I
can't
did,
sell.
Because
they're
you
not
gotta
really
buy
like
it
certain
Can't
things,
You gotta
certain
buy
things
it.
you buy, certain things
Certain
you buy.
things
They're
it's
right
worth
here.
there because you have to buy a ticket, say you go away, you know those trips we used to
Yeah,
make for
certain
like
things
a
like
one
that,
day
yeah,
trip.
I
certain
do.
things we sell over here has a better
Quality.
quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain things
I
you
get
have to
here.
be careful,
Buy the ticket,
yeah.
you have to
That's why I
buy the
said there's a
rental car.
much.
And if you
Ah,
stay
all of
overnight,
that.
you have to buy the hotel.
People don't
By the
think
time
of that,
you
you know.
you spend that money
Certain
and the money
things-
here,
certain
you
things
spend
you
$800 here and get all
All
of
the
that.
same
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, my sister over there, so.
I don't even
So
go
unless you go away for the experience, it isn't worth it to shop.
But it depends on how many
Only
people you
certain
use it.
things.
If you're gonna use a bin from,
Yeah, from one of
Betty
the
Kay?
Betty
it's how many people you, me and my daughter and my girlfriend, we shut up in.
Okay.
So it works out. And
Like that.
Yeah, I have
we
to
have our
calculate it.
customs duty with us,
And you
so we
collect
know what we say, you just don't buy.
Any and
Certain
everything.
things,
Oh, yeah.
45%.
Best
Yeah.
way shipping cheaper than Betty Gay, just so you know.
Who?
Best way shipping.
Yes.
That's-
Yeah,
That's
that's
big
another
shipping.
shipping.
That's
I watch
big.
it. I'm taking
Never
notes.
heard of them.
Look at us.
They cheaper than the Betty
You
Gay.
could go
Very
right to
worthy.
States, right, on Florida, eh?
And
In Miami or Fort Lauderdale?
Miami.
Miami.
Well,
I don't know the address in Miami.
So what you look
you can tell me go somewhere.
But they have a local
So you
office.
order
What
online and
number
send
is?
it there?
You
Yeah.
could order
Okay.
license in there, or you could actually shop, and before you come
But
back
who's the
over-
agent here, how I can get it?
There's an
What the
agent
phone
here.
have
I can give you a contact.
Oh,
I'll bring it next time.
you
Sorry,
have
she
it?
said
she'll
Okay,
get
good.
it.
She gotta bring it next class.
Best way shipping.
Yeah.
So how much that bin cost?
They don't have no bin. I just pack my stuff in boxes,
Mhm.
and they cheaper than if you buy the bin, put them in the bin
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
bring.
Oh, so you don't buy like a pallet?
Much cheaper,
You
much,
just
much
buy-
cheaper?
I just
My
buy the
husband
big.
uses that 'cause he has a business,
I
so
just
he
buy
uses
the
like
big
all of his
boxes.
mechanic stuff, his coolants and all that stuff, he sends them through Bestford every day,
They cheaper.
every day.
That's a
I
business.
don't know whatever
Yes,
cheaper.
yeah.
I've used Betty Kay for years.
Everybody
too.
She monopolizes.
And then you gotta figure out who you could do Betty K with. Cause everybody is shopping at the same time.
Yeah.
No, with my girlfriend and my daughter, even if my daughter don't go, I know, I have a.
So I can order
That's what I
online and
mean.
send it to these people?
But I got
Yesterday,
online
my
myself,
address in
so-
Nassau. I was looking at it on Google.
Yeah, they
now.
have an address in
And
Nassau,
you could
so
pick
when
up-
it comes in,
They call
and
you.
then you have a US, they have a US location,
location.
also address and
Oh,
location.
so put in that
I need to know.
address.
I
Okay.
need, that's the
See that
address.
number here, see that number here, you could call them 356-2006.
She could bring it next
I
week.
can
Yeah.
check that.
With the contact.
5, 6.
Contact.
2006.
But
But
she
I've
bring
been
it next
using,
week
I've
to
been
get it.
using-
I love that.
The contact in Nassau, she bring in.
I've been using Nova to ship myself to like my,
Oh, jeez.
I'm getting tired of that.
Listen here, they lost a 70-inch television.
Oh, I
Who are
never
you
look
gonna
over.
say?
I just don't like that.
They lose it.
It's all over.
Daddy lose.
That was the end.
Daddy like
They
a
lose
snack.
that.
Daddy like a
They
cell
lose
phone.
that,
They
eh? They took
lose
it.
that.
I've never had anything lost, but
Yeah, I waited like 2
So
months.
you have seen
After
another,
two
I
months,
have to
I
look
got
at these
it.
different companies, their
Yes.
policies on
I'm gonna
lost
try
items.
this way.
Yeah.
How are they gonna compensate you
Okay.
for it?
No, 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 no.
You can't spend me
Yeah.
50
That's
times
huge.
what
Oh,
I'm
I need that. I need anything with cheaper.
You're going to have to give me all of my money back for that.
Alright, so we did what the real value is, right? The value of the share price, which your buyer will pay for it. And it depends on the number of shares offered by the sellers and what's bought. So then let's look at nominal versus real share. The nominal and paid up values of shares mainly serve as a measure of the shareholder's liability. So when you buy shares, you buy the nominal. That's totally different from what you actually pay for it. The nominal value provides no measure of the real value of the shares. company law is not concerned with the real value of the shares, not with the dollar amount, it's the nominal amount. That's what you're concerned with, because that exposes you to the amount of your liability. The nominal amount.
What, how does that work with those stock splits? So if I originally, let's say, we purchased 100 shares at $1 apiece, and, you know, I have these shares for years, but eventually I do like a stock split, so I have 200 shares. Now, let's say at $1 apiece, what would I be liable for? The 100 at $1, what I originally got?
Should be the total.
Okay, so I'll be whatever now, how many shares I have, okay.
Payment of shares, the shareholder must pay the nominal value or greater issue price of his shares to the company in cash. Their shares are allotted by a company without any different method of payment. A company may also allot shares which are credited as paid up to an agreed amount for consideration other than cash. Because you don't have to give cash in order to pay your shares. You can pay for your shares in other. Yes.
Like if we doing like the guarantee, what you mean?
No,
What you mean?
no. Some people pay for their shares in real property.
What about service? Like if they,
No, normally for real property, for you had one of them. You had where they paid for the shares, and I look at other things, I trying to find the right word to call it. Statute. Actual statute. I'm thinking in house, I know in house is called a figurine, but I don't, but outside an actual statue.
Oh, okay.
like
You
those
pay for
white
it.
statues,
Like an actual statue. Yeah. Another company that paid for his shares with a statue. The value of the statue
That's the
Oh.
property.
as the
It was
So
property.
they did exchange, it was an
Like a
exchange
barter
of
or something?
the
No, don't call
property
it
for
barter.
shares.
Yeah, property for the shares.
So,
The
okay.
value.
The value of it, the value of it.
statue.
Okay,
I
you
did
statue,
read
you
that
give you
somewhere,
shares.
Yes.
where you have to, where, a company can, where did I see that?
It's in there.
I read it somewhere.
You read it, I have the word property. Yeah. Something that you can actually sell. So whether the shares are issued for payment in cash or for
Oh.
consideration other than cash, they cannot be issued at a discount.
I don't know where I read that. I was reading on one of the articles in a company where I work, and it was saying in the articles, for shares or the issuance of shares, the directors can agree to accept a
Property.
property for
Uh-huh.
the shares, or if you have if you're an existing shareholder, you can agree to exchange your shares for a property owned by the company.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
So
I read
there are
that.
different ways you can
So-
pay for it. So shares are allotted for cash when the shareholder agrees to pay their nominal value or higher issue price by legal tender or by a check or negotiable instrument, of which the company may sue him. Shares are also allotted for cash when the company is indebted to the shareholder, and they agree that the debt will be discharged by crediting the shares as paid up by an equivalent amount. So there's another way, if you actually have, you owe money, you can actually offer your shares for payment. And the person then becomes a shareholder. And a lot of startup companies are doing that, or existing companies who are now moving into the technological world, and they realize they need more capital. So if they go and they solicit business from you, and you're supposed to be doing, I don't know, upgrading the system or whatever, and they realize it's time to pay you, they can't pay you, they offer you shares in the company.
That's why I was asking, like, if you could do it for your service. So if you have a company or.
Like spread equity.
Yeah, if you, like you said, like technology or
Mhm,
the, let's say.
Oh, yeah, that's what you meant,
Yeah,
yes,
like if
yes.
you're upgrading
Uh-huh.
something for them.
You
it's
can,
okay.
yeah, the company can offer you shares in lieu thereof of paying you in cash. Then I have here, a creditor may also agree with the company that his debt should be paid by crediting the shares of another person as paid up by an equal sum. The transfer of property to the company, land, building, or other tangible property may also be consideration for the allotment of shares other than cash. The allotment of shares may also be made for any other valuable consideration. So this is the first thing that when the central bank does it, when they say you have to provide proof of authorized capital, and then the licensee has to go and open a bank account. Then the bank has to give central bank confirmation. You said you have authorized capital of 5, and you said you have paid up of 3. They want to see this 3 is in cash.
Yeah, like the guarantee letter.
So what if somebody gives you?
Guarantee normally is for non-profit, unless you're gonna do part cash, part guarantee. You can't operate a bank without money, you need cash.
What if they pay you in an asset, in the form of an asset?
How you gonna run it, how you run a company?
No, I'm
See, it
just
depends on the
asking.
type of
Depends on
business.
the type of business.
Yeah.
So the letter which you're talking about with reference to central bank, they just wanna see that this customer actually has cash in the bank, but not that it's being held or they, as of this date, they have
Yeah.
cash in the
They
bank.
have to show
But
Yeah,
they want
the-
it
the
to be
annual
proof.
filing.
Proof that they have
You
put that capital
to
in the
operate the
operating
company.
company.
So that has to be shown in the filing or anything, or just?
No, there's an
Initially.
actual letter of initial, an actual letter. Then you see it as you get the actual annual statements
Right.
or the quarterly report, and you can see how the assets are distributed.
Okay.
And then you can see the shift. Cause if you see cash just going down, and then you see property, and you know they're not investing in any other property, you know that they don't have the value of their property where they are, they don't own it, so it's not increasing, then why is property going up? You see?
Okay.
And so those are the things you look for, cause like I say, it can be in cash, it can be in property, it can be, you can actually exchange it for anything.
So the central bank is concerned with the liquidity then, I mean,
We think this is not even liquidity
I mean,
yet.
in terms of, because you said, when I asked you, what if the person paid for the shares with an asset rather than cash, and they're not concerned with that.
Okay,
They
if
wanna
I were
know
to
how
open a
much
bank,
cash you have
if
in
I'm
the
to
bank.
open a bank today,
Mhm.
right? You need
Yeah.
cash.
Take a look at-
You cannot say, I paid for this with a piece of land and life a key. How you gonna operate a bank?
No.
Cause when you operate a bank, let's say I operate a bank, the first week I got in 100 depositors, but each one of them only bring in $10. Or $100 the minimum. How you gonna make? You make your money here by loans.
Now, there's
So
two
you have to
things.
take the risk and take some of the capital along with the money from the depositors in order to lend it.
For every, I think there's a theory they say, but for every dollar you lend out, you should have $8 in capital reserve.
Cause you gotta balance off the risk. So you need cash. If you're doing a service-oriented company, you may not need that amount of cash. If it is a company where you're just using your brain. You see what I mean? If you're doing a company that has a lot of equipment, then you may need cash, cause you need money for service. So it depends on what it is. Alteration of a share capital. If authorized by his articles, a limited company may make certain alterations to the provisions of his memo and acts with regard to share capital by passing a resolution. So if you go to your Companies Act, Miguel deleted the email with the IBC and the Companies Act, cause I told him go and save it and print it for me. Oh, his mailbox was full, he deleted all this.
So call me and let me send it to your mailbox.
Okay, let's go to the
I'm not to work-
companies.
I'm not to work this week though.
Okay, next week. Let's go to the Companies Act, let's see what it says about altering the capital. Let's see, who's the brave soul, I'm going on my copy. Section 49, am I right?
For the companies,
Yes, and
Yes.
the new one.
And the old one is 40.
And I'm on the new one now.
She's been upgraded.
I've been upgraded to the new with corrections.
I don't want the new one, any of that,
She says the same in the old one.
the same way.
Yeah, section 49. A company having a share capital may, if so authorized by its articles, by a resolution of shareholders. So it tells you first thing, two things have to do to alter your capital. One, the articles have to permit you to do so. And secondly, you need a resolution. A, increase the share capital by the creation of new shares. B, consolidate and divide all or any of the shares capital into shares of larger amount. Or convert all or any of its paid up shares into stock and reconvert that stock. And it also says that E, you can cancel these shares. So the whole point is that a company can do either. They can increase, decrease, alter, but the first thing is the actual articles must stipulate what it can, cannot do. So remember when we went out and we looked at the very back, the schedule?
Yeah.
We went through that whole article. I remember when we were saying that a company can follow this or they can make their own.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You either go adopt it as is, or you take the time to go through each clause and think about how I want to run my company. And leave those options open. Good? Because they all tie in together. Go to the IBC. Oh, I have my new one. Let me see how fancy I am. I want you to notice I haven't thrown away the old one though.
$25 and $90, that's what we.
No, yeah, 25. Didn't change. And it should be same. Where it says here. It says here, subject to any limitation, so that, you see what this means, it's the same wording. You must check the memo and acts, and then by resolution, increase or decrease. So it has the same requirements. And that's why I always say when you become a shareholder or you become a director, you must know the memo and act of the company in detail. Because you can actually pass a resolution that is void. Because the memo and acts, that document tells you what you can and cannot do. And if you go outside of it, it's void. So you imagine carrying on actions on a resolution that is void. And you put the company in jeopardy. The shareholders will be all over you. How did you do this? As the board of directors, you're supposed to know what you can and cannot do. And that's why the role of the corporate secretary is so important. Because the corporate secretary guides the chairman as to what he can and cannot do. And when he requires approval of the shareholders. So to be a corporate secretary, when we get to that section, I think I have it in here, right? I did put it in there. No. No, I didn't. No, company compliance, no. When you become a corporate secretary, you not only have to know accounting, you have to know all of this related to shares.
So they have classes for that, those persons?
They have certifications in it,
Oh, okay,
in
You
England
still have
and
to
in
be
Canada.
certified?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
company
to be certified.
secretary.
A lawyer doesn't automatically become a corporate secretary? Being a
Not
lawyer.
all lawyers study company law.
Company
Oh,
law.
okay. Christine, I have a question with the same course we do, once we do, the second part. Can we get some certification?
I mean, the course itself is a certification.
We got a certificate?
This is the
Yeah, but
diploma.
certificate.
Uh-huh.
Which one is this?
Mhm,
The certificate, eh?
Mhm. But this one, they have part one and part two.
It is a certificate. You can move from here now and go into an international
Mhm.
certification.
So we can use this to do company, or let's say we wanna become a certified, a company, a corporate
Yeah,
secretary,
uh-huh.
we can use this.
Mhm. And it
Because I've
depends
been
on,
looking at a lot
right,
of them in the UK.
and then it depends if you're working for an international company
Mm-hmm.
and you wanna be a corporate secretary, then international certification. Yeah, it is very complex
Yeah, expensive.
and very
Yeah,
expensive.
it's a lot of different jurisdictions.
A lot of different- yeah.
For certifications,
For what?
for the different international certifications, like once you're done with this complete,
It depends on what route you wanna take. You can now, if you wanted to go in the corporate secretarial field, there's a certification for that.
let's see.
If you're doing this as a part of company management, there's a certification to go in that way. It depends on how you're going to use it.
There's so much risk behind that.
What?
Corporate secretary.
There's risk in everything.
The
Just
penalties
make
will
sure-
cut my hip.
No, make sure they draft the memo on us to say the director is fully liable.
Yeah, but I mean, like the penalties, like when you, certain things with central bank, Jesus.
But sometimes a lot of them, I think they have like lawyers who work for the company who they get guided. So those lawyers are paid very well, who they
Yeah,
could call
they
up and get guidance
Mhm.
for before they do anything. So I mean, a lot of the.
But you
some
can't
of
keep
those-
calling every day.
Now, the
No,
corporate-
okay.
No, the corporate
Agree. No,
secretary.
now you need
And they
certification.
do,
Yeah.
and they do
Certification.
extensions on filings too, they're lenient. Because you could call, you could address them and say, we need an extension on this filing, they may give it to you with a penalty.
No, I'm saying go get your certification, and then when certain things become, maybe what might be ultra rare or what you need advice for, a lot of companies have someone on, or a lawyer, whatever, who you could get the advice, yeah.
See the thing
And
about
the
it
binding,
is,
if you work for binding, they should indemnify you. You should be
but
under
this,
liability.
don't say should. You must go and make sure. You have to read.
You have to make sure that
You
you have it
ask.
and their
If you have
insurance
it,
for
then you ask to
indemnification
see it.
Yeah.
before you employ.
Even as a director, if
Yeah.
someone employed you now to be a director on a company, that's the first thing you ask. You know, first thing you don't ask is, how much am I getting paid? The
No.
question is, am I going to be indemnified?
But
You know, that's what they got
Because you know you're gonna
now.
get paid. You want to know, am I gonna be indemnified?
And you make sure they pay their insurance every year.
That's another thing,
That's true.
because you have to make sure you're covered. Yeah, but that's the rule. All of this here depends on how you use it, is what a corporate secretary should know.
So CCGI, Caribbean Corporate Governance Certificate.
So that's the Caribbean one. There's one out of the UK, and it has an arm. There it is. ICSA, and there's one in Canada. It's very expensive.
It don't seem like they move a lot, like those, like if you become a corporate, they actually have that position
They
for a long
permanent, I
time.
guess.
It's permanent.
Yeah,
And they
you
stop.
know.
Yeah.
So if
You
you
don't-
want someone job
no.
looking for that corporate secretary,
You
you
don't
wait
wait,
them
yeah,
get
you
it
wait
right.
for that person to die.
die.
Yes.
Because it's so
Only-
involved.
Yeah.
it's
You're
only
getting ready for a
assistant.
meeting
Yeah.
every 3 months.
And you're taking all the minutes, all of
You're
that.
taking all the minutes, and you also take the minutes for every committee that is a committee of the board.
Yeah.
And then don't forget,
Anyone
you're
there?
responsible
Yeah.
for preparing the
Planning.
agenda for
Planning.
every meeting,
Yeah.
and collating all the information for the meeting,
And you
and
should-
reviewing all the documents before they go to the chairman for every meeting.
So you would, if you're going, you wouldn't even want that person changed, so you want someone
want it-
who-
yeah,
who-
yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna
the one
do it.
consistency.
Yeah. And then they also do the minutes for the shareholders meeting. There's a lot of
Okay.
minutes.
That's a lot of work. I see why they paid well. Let's be clear, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Cause you
Well,
are the
it's
keeper
true.
of the M&A,
Mhm.
so you need to know
And the minute book.
where, when you can and what you cannot do. And when you need to go out and seek assistance from external counsel for an amendment, for an opinion, all of that you have to do.
You would be a lawyer.
Hello. After this.
Unless that's something you're passionate about. You have some people who enjoy doing that type of work. though.
I would think after a while, if we see anything familiar with everything.
1 year.
When you finish,
You
you'll
know,
be able.
like you visit, you start
No,
as a
but
lawyer.
the truth about the matter is, once you finish doing that for a certain amount of time, you'll be able to run your own business.
Mm-hmm.
The experience you gain is invaluable, because you're working alongside directors.
But it is busy.
Yeah, it's very busy.
It's very busy.
That's what I mean.
It's very busy.
Because is that your only job as a corporate director?
Like
You
corporate
mean as a
secretary?
secretary? Is that the only
Yeah,
thing you do?
only thing you do.
You don't announce to the bank, right?
No, can't, don't have the time.
That's what I mean, in
No.
terms of volume, that's a lot. That's a lot.
And then you have some persons who work in offshore banks and their job is to be secretary in all of them, for all of their nominee companies that sit on the board of all of their
Yeah, that's
clients. And they do minutes for all of those and resolutions for all of those.
Filing for
And filing, all the statutory filing, all of that, paying all the fees, keeping them current.
What do it again, say it again?
So jobs like these are advertised in the paper often, looking for corporate secretary. So people normally do this one, company 1 and 2, and then they do the trust program. To work in an offshore center.
I would imagine you
corporate
would have
secretary work.
assistants though.
Yeah, there's always an
Yeah,
assistant.
you always have
Yeah, there's
assistants to
assistant.
do all the legwork for you.
There's
I
an
mean, not
assistant.
all the legwork,
But some,
you know.
yeah. But it's a good field to go into, if you're interested, this one interested, you can look it up.
Staff is a good one too, right? The staff.
That's for trust.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd love to.
not really.
I did stuff with foundation.
Yeah, some people say trust. There's a lot
That's
of
because it
reasons.
encompasses all, I think.
No, you don't have face to face. You
No,
have
there's
a
no
lecture,
face-to-face,
you study
no.
the book by yourself, and then the week before,
Foundation?
yes, you do the week before the exam, you have a lecture there for a week.
So we-
And then Friday you sit the exam. You don't have a face to face. You have to read this book and understand it by yourself.
Yeah,
So I think it's rough, especially if you're not in that field.
I think that's, if you're not.
And that
it
one
is
too,
really
the
good.
secretary one, there's no one to teach you that.
Yeah. You see? No face to face.
No.
Still for BIFS to get into.
Oh, us.
Yeah, offer the trust training and then.
They have trust, you have trust 1, 2, and 3, and from there they go into step. Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
The same like we did
Yes,
for
but if
the
you start
ICA,
with
compliance
you guys,
and
yeah.
money laundering. We started the introduction, intermediate, and then you go
for
into
the
it.
certification.
Then you go, it's much easier. But if you just walk in and say you're gonna do certification, it's rough. It's rough.
I got it.
Yeah, rough.
You get experience.
Okay, so share certificate, we spoke about that before. It's issued by the company, give you the deed. The share certificate is evidence of a member's title to the shares. So normally the corporate secretary has the book, and the book has a stub like a checkbook, and it tells you on the side who the share certificate was issued to. Yeah. Company normally issues just one certificate in respect of all the shares issued or transferred at a particular time, but a shareholder may request split share certificates. At common law, a company will be prevented from denying statements and a share certificate against a person or entity that has relied on the statement. Key information contained in the share certificate: the name and authorized share capital, the number of the share certificate, the address of the shareholder, the number held, the class of shares, the amount treated as paid on the shares, the nominal or par value, the signatures of the directors or officers or whoever is authorized to sign in accordance with the articles of association, the date of issuance of the share certificate, the company seal, and on the reverse, there may be the share transfer form.
Question would be this could be also persons like filing, doing, issuing those, cause we have persons who come in, especially like with those share transfer forms and everything, like that's what they wanna do, they get those forms from CFAL. We see them coming in and we have to verify the signatures, but we see these coming along from CFAL, like with their certificates, and the share transfer form, so That's something that the companies outsource to CFA? Okay.
Just remember now, which companies are those? Those are the ones that are
Publicly
public
traded,
traded,
yes.
yeah. If they're private, no,
Yeah, I've only seen it for the publicly traded.
publicly
ones.
traded. The share transfer form on the reverse of the share certificate, attached to a share certificate which stipulates the name of the company, the name of the address. So sometimes the share transfer form is on the back, and sometimes some companies have an actual form, separate from. And you have to find out how to transfer the share. Remember, the transfer of the share is not effective until it actually goes through the process to transfer it. If I have a share certificate now, right, and I say, I wanna sell you this for $500, you give me $500, and I give you this, you don't own it. If you go through the process to transfer the share. So let's give you the particulars of what's in there, and and you have to go through your due diligence check as a shareholder. Transfer of shares. The standard form required to transfer shares is a share transfer form duly executed by the relevant parties, and the parties are the transferor, the transferee, and who witnesses the transaction. The procedure is a resolution of the shareholders is prepared in accordance with the Articles of Association to approve and authorize the share transfer. Notice you don't know anything without the articles and the maps. That is the actual brain of the company. The existing shareholder, that's a transferor, completes the share transfer form and executes the form, making sure it's witnessed. The person to whom the shares are being transferred to or sold to, that's called the transferee. They complete the transfer share form, and then the form is returned to the FCSP or the company secretary to record it. So once you record it, then what happens, you cancel the old one, and then you have to amend the register of members or shareholders. You know, we use the words members and shareholders interchangeably, you know why? If it is a company incorporated under the Companies Act, you say shareholders. If it's incorporated in the IBC Act, you say members. When a shareholder dies, his interest in the shares of a company passes to whoever inherits the shares under his will. Because sometimes some people believe that because you own shares in a company and then the person dies, that the other shareholders take those shares. It's not, it doesn't work that way. If you have shares in a company and you die, in your will, you have stipulated who you want those shares to go to. Other than that, if you didn't leave a will, then the executors when you have a will. Yeah. You die two ways. Two ways. With one and without one. With a will, no will. With a will, you have an executor who acts immediately. The minute you close your eye, he could start acting. No will, then you need a letter of administration from the court appointing for you an administrator. And they only act after the court says so.
So who would be qualified for the administrator? I mean, just typically,
Would it be the heirs?
The heirs, family member, yeah.
It depends.
It depends.
But a hierarchy for next of kin. If you're married, it'll be a spouse. If you're not married, then I think it's children.
The
Mhm,
first
the
son,
children.
The children.
Yeah,
And then if there are no children, it goes to the
the
parents.
parents.
And if then there are no parents,
The
it goes
brother.
to the siblings.
Sibling.
It's the eldest child or the eldest son?
Eldest son.
No,
No,
all
eldest no more.
children inherit equally.
Now?
As long as
So you may
the
have one.
father or the
You know
mother
you get 10
recognizes that child, so
Yeah.
it could be a half
Doesn't
child.
matter. Which is
All
fine.
children
What is
share
LA?
equally.
Letters of administration.
Okay.
See, you may be in your house and just you and your son all of these 20 years. But when his eye closed, he had 5 more, 10 more.
Well, he need to tell me what he doing.
Why?
You won't know.
Why?
That's
You
why
won't
you
know.
need to
That's
know.
it.
He
Yeah,
ain't
they
say
took
I
nothing.
know when the
Exactly.
family reunion is leaving his funeral, that's when everybody
Exactly,
show up.
and people show up.
Like my granddad.
That's when
He has
everybody,
46.
you want to see how much family you have, let somebody
So if he
die.
didn't leave a will, then you get your
But they-
50%.
The thing is, they have to prove that he is their father.
He signed.
And all the rest will share the other 50%.
What's this in
So what's the
reference to?
50% is?
You die without a will.
No, I mean the first
Who's the
single
wife?
draw, that's the wife.
Oh,
The
the
spouse
wife.
gets 50%, and then all the
present wife.
children
Share the other 50.
Share the other
not
50.
shared out of 50.
Without a will, yeah, that's to go.
Oh, this is how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how it
a will.
goes. The law tells you how it goes.
So
You
say
don't
the
decide
spouse
that.
get 50%, and then
Yeah.
the other children.
Children fight over the other 50.
Now, let's just say you died
After
before.
they finish.
You died before.
Mhm.
And he knows the children know all along, it's just me and my brother, my sister, we're taking care of daddy. And then he dies without a will, and they didn't know there was 10 more, but then he left and we share with all of them.
They think they get
So what if they
five.
have a
They be
will?
thinking they get right,
They
it's
get
just the
If he
three of
has
them.
a will,
If he has a will, what
it
happens to
splits
the
according to his will.
It's which will?
It's special.
Oh,
It's
okay
wishes.
then. He need to write a will.
But if you don't have a
Men
will,
don't like to write wills.
No.
He need to do something. He need to write something.
There's no something, it's just a will. It's a will, that's it.
That's it?
And they don't like to write that.
And it's important to record it too. Because if you write a will,
It has to be
someone
recorded.
have the option of defrauding your will and creating another one. If you don't record it in the registry.
That's normally the person who's taking care of it.
I definitely.
So
Yeah.
that's important too,
Yeah.
not just writing a will, because anybody could write a will and don't know it exists, and then you find it, but they could defraud it if you don't register it, or then you will
no, no,
show
no, no, the original copy isn't kept by the person themselves, you know.
Mhm.
No, I'm
No.
saying
The
if you don't
original copy
register
is
it,
kept
that's
by
an option
the
if you
attorney
want to
or
fraud
the
them.
justice of the peace who created the will.
Mhm.
It isn't kept by the individual.
But you get a copy of it.
Yeah, but you could revoke a will at any time.
Right. And so what you see is sometimes the children coming with a will that was written later.
Right, they
Because
claim,
But in their
but he
favor.
was in the hospital or
But he was in
something,
the
right?
hospital.
Exactly, you can put the words in it, the clause in it to say all other wills
That
have
way,
been
that way
void,
normally everything you write when you put
deceased.
that in front.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the normal language.
Mm.
All other
So
wills.
you holding the will from 50 years ago when y'all was
So
cool.
what happens when they come and then kids come to the will?
You fight it
know
in
the
court.
You fight it in court.
But you know the man-
Keep
he's
Court
fighting.
will
been-
determine which
he's
one
been
they
in
consider to be the
hospital
valid
Yeah.
in
will.
a coma.
Yeah, all of
You
that.
mean, cause you could have people who come and say, okay, he did this while he was in the hospital and not in this right
Right.
time.
Yeah, you did have
line.
evidence.
So then you
Yeah.
just
You have to
provide the
prove that he
medical
was in
evidence.
capacity.
Medical evidence. It happens.
Yeah, we
A
have
lot.
one now where a person come into the bank to want the money and,
They want the money in
They-
the bank account, eh?
yeah, you know, and they say, and they presented one bill, the wife presented one bill, they presented the next one.
So you look at the date then?
But it don't
No,
matter, the will
then
have to
that
be
one,
probated
they'll go to
before that
court.
money could move the.
But you don't
No,
look at
but
the.
we don't always have, it depends on the dollar value. Depending on the dollar value.
It's a
we
small
make
amount?
No, this one is a large amount, so they now get a,
Yeah, when you're
So
talking
if
about
y'all deem it
1,500
immaterial,
dollars,
but anytime you
$50,000,
have-
sometimes
immaterial,
it's something
then
like
But the
that.
bank,
You
if,
get that
if
straight
two
away
people
for
present
burial
different
expense,
wills
and
for the
that is
same
all.
account,
I-
the
that
bank
don't
would be
happen.
Burial
wise
expense.
No,
not
that
to do
don't happen.
anything till they have a court order dealing with that.
no, that don't happen often, but if you come in there and you're the wife and depending on what's the amount was on the account and you can prove that you actually buried that person and you show them, we give you consideration and we reimburse you for funeral costs, that's our policy.
Oh, y'all could be sued for that.
Yeah,
How
I'm
much
just
you- how
saying,
much you
for
give
that,
for
so
funeral
we talking
costs?
under $1,500.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about a minimum amount, we ain't
Oh,
talking no
15,
big
she
dollar
get,
value.
that's the statutory amount,
Yeah,
$1,500,
so
that's all
what
they
we
can
do.
get.
And then we go ahead and do it,
Don't
if
go
you
arrange
come
some
and you
funeral
show.
for 30,000, cause the money
Yeah.
may not be yours.
But if you come in and you show that you are the wife, you're not on the account, could show that you buy the casket, do all those things and whatever, we give you up to the $1,500. The rest of the money, you now gotta go ahead.
Then that's what the statute provides. You
Oh.
only get $1,500.
Yeah, we ain't
no
trying,
more.
if you can't afford to
But you
bury
could
this
get a
person,
wooden
you
box
don't need to have
and
no
put
big
them in.
thing.
Yeah,
So
you
what
get
about
one.
national
They could make it,
national
make.
insurance is
Huh?
They could make it, make.
No, they might just
$1,500
want
survivors
something
benefit,
towards
burial
it.
benefit,
Does that
yeah.
count?
Yeah. No,
It's
it
still
can't
not
do
that
nothing,
much.
but you
Right.
get to,
That's just
you know.
1,500.
To do what?
Is that 1,500?
Yeah, the survivors benefit.
Yeah. Let's just go on it.
But we're not
Well, then bury
You're
him
not
and
too
cremate
bad.
him, what nice.
You're
They're
not-
not
That's the
different
point,
from
if you can't afford
No, no.
to
You
do
mean
it,
not to
yeah.
cremate.
They don't
Cremate him,
dead.
that's all.
So what's the
Cremate him.
point of celebrating?
Yes.
I mean, you
No,
understand what I'm saying?
no,
Nobody's
we
supposed
don't
to be in
cremation
mourning.
than survivors.
We do,
Something like that.
but you know, these
They have other
people,
little benefits.
they
They
want
want,
a party.
they want
after.
dress up her color scheme,
Yeah.
like it's nice to see all of that.
No, that don't come with the people money.
So I
Sorry.
just saying most people go out elaborately and you don't even celebrate them while they're here.
That's the problem.
What's the moral issue?
That been going on long time, long time.
That's why I say when you want a reunion, let somebody die. Everybody is
Then you
sure.
find out who's who.
That's right. And you see
And
somebody
there's a
standing in the
big
back
eat
of
out party, speakers, all kinds of things. Nice like mother said.
So this is the same thing. Once the company recognizes and verifies the transmittee's entitlement to the shares, then the title to those shares must be properly documented in the share register. So you just go through the same probate procedure, whether it's a will or without a will, and then you have the shares transmitted, and then the new share certificate is issued.
What's the turnaround for probate? I understand it's very long. Like years or?
Some is years.
Why is it-
Depending on
Why
if
so
any
long?
issues.
Depends on what it
Well,
is.
part of the problem is the banks. If you write the bank to find out if the persons have accounts, you have to write the banks at least 4 times, so that can take you 4 to 5
Yeah, let me
months.
tell you,
before
it's
someone
scared to
at
give
the
you-
bank
it's scared to give you
respond
all
to
the
you.
information.
I just want to say, no, sometimes the lawyers write the wrong people, and I say you, so some people should have read under the, right?
We write
like
to the
same
manager of the
way.
bank because there's no persons in the bank turnover so fast, it's directed to the manager of the
But
bank.
do you know where it actually should go?
Thank you, because I
It
shouldn't
should
even
go
be
to
going there.
compliance.
And I can tell you, if that
Where?
person don't have
Compliance.
account at your branch or whatever, they
Compliance
can look at
has
that.
access to the
That's the
whole
thing I don't
system,
understand with the
and they can
branches.
tell you right off the top in less than 5 minutes if that person
If
is
you
a
go to
client.
their account,
And
like
But
the
if you
compliance
go to a
react-
branch,
Don't
a
you
branch is
share
only
a
interested in
normal-
And
administering the
whatever.
branch.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, but don't
They're
you
not
share a
going to
system
go and look
when
that
you
up.
do all the
Share
people-
Because
system.
compliance will react quicker.
You
Yeah,
do
it is
share
because
but
it's
you
individual.
have to realize that you
Yeah.
have your responsibility for your, I'm not saying
But
that
once
it's
you tell
right,
them you want to sue them, then you.
but
No,
right
but
here,
you have to
there's
know
a-
who
But
to
they
go
still
to.
at that point.
You
But
go
they
to
react.
compliance.
your responsibility for your branch, you have
But them-
access to all
They
the
react
branches,
first.
Yeah.
you do.
Banks,
But your
we are
responsibility for your
most
branch
of
is
the
to
time.
be
Send it to the wrong
honest.
place.
Your responsibility is so
Like, let's just say
big,
they say,
depending on what it is, someone
the
coming
person
to
was a
you,
client of this
querying
branch
something
right
for
here.
a next branch.
right?
You
Even
can
if
send
that
them to
person was a
next
client of that branch
You
right
see? So
there,
I mean,
that
that's
communication goes to compliance.
Mhm.
So basically, you
That's
should
where it
be
needs to
emailing,
go.
you should be sending a letter to head of
Head of
office
the-
then.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
where all
Head
the court
office.
orders
To
and everything,
compliance.
all them go to compliance, all them
It
court
goes to
orders and
compliance.
everything.
If you send it to a branch, nothing's gonna happen,
Oh,
and
we
they get
don't send
lost.
stuff
So
somewhere.
compliance still gotta go back, go
But
to
who
the
at head
branch.
office?
Yeah.
I
Eventually.
think it's
Yeah, but then
addressed
it's
to the
a,
manager.
it's a
Let me
responsibility.
No,
just
but
say
it's
that
going
them
wrong
managed,
place.
Change of
and,
command.
They don't have a clue.
That day.
They don't have a clue.
and them messengers I tell you to be dropping things all about. So y'all think y'all sending them
Yeah.
to head office?
No, our manager.
No, I'm just saying, we ain't meaning you, I'm not meaning you.
He drop our stuff with.
But I
he's
can tell you,
supposed
you'll have some people coming there who's supposed to come there, they'll come to us at East Bay and they say, oh, y'all can put on your bag then and drop that
No,
up
no,
there.
no,
So you have some messengers, they only trying to drop it somewhere and do
Yeah, and
whatever.
send it here, and
Mhm.
after it's lost. Alright, so at the bottom I put that there are different types of shareholders. We know there are common shareholders. We know there are preference shareholders based on the type of shares. We have class A, class B, again, because you can take shares and put them in different groupings. Then you have majority shareholders, we spoke about them, minority shareholders, and now we're gonna talk about nominee shareholders.
When we speak about the class A and the class B, what would be the significance of it? Why would a company wanna have the preference and the class A, the class B? Would that be because they have so many shareholders?
So many shareholders and some have different rights.
Okay, so they wanna
So
kind of
B or C
segregate.
could be a deferred ordinary share,
Okay,
which means that they don't get paid until after B.
okay,
And B can have a deferred, they're not paid until after A.
okay.
Alright, so let's talk about nominee shareholders and beneficial ownership. This is one of the reasons why this week the OECD said again, the Bahamas needs to be blacklisted.
I think they were listed, one thing UK listed us as a suspected money laundering.
Yes,
jurisdiction.
because of the same thing. They want to know who own these IBCs.
But aren't we passing the bill soon for registered beneficiaries?
Not open to the world.
Huh?
Not open to the
No,
world.
it's
gotta have a
only to
court order,
our.
eh?
You have a court order.
So what they want?
Open, open.
I want
They
to type
want
in
blood.
Ingrid Lloyd,
Yeah,
put on the internet.
When it's,
Everything comes
Yes, and everything comes
But that's
up.
not
so
what
Go
they
to
have
the
all,
Bahamian
they have
registry.
those, they have registered beneficial owners,
Who?
the UK.
What they doing what we do?
Huh?
This is a continent, this is an island.
No, but I'm just saying, they expecting, a cake and they ain't have nothing, they want the icing too.
We're
I
small.
told the colleague, we need to come up with our own list and put them on it. All these people,
We have no power.
all these jurisdictions who putting
We
us
have
on the
no
list.
power.
That is good, about
No power.
No, because we at the hands of the US.
You know what?
At the hands of the US, we right there.
We are the hands of the US, what have to do?
No,
You
I'm
see,
saying
just
we
come
don't,
checking
like
for
you
you.
saying, we don't have any power. We don't have any power, they
Jump in
depending on
and
the
ship
US
that to
law.
the Black Nation.
Don't look for them. He may decide to build a wall.
No, that's what I'm saying, they don't have no power. The Bahamas, we are surrounded. Cause see, if we get in bed with the UK, they could just wall us off. We get in bed with anybody, they can wall us
We're
off.
not in bed with nobody.
We're not, but I'm just saying, because we're so close to the US, they can try to find a wall.
But the US is not owning us either.
We on our own.
We're on our
We're
own.
on our own.
We're out there singing and fighting on our own.
I still think we're doing a good job.
No, we are
Compared to
doing, we
some of
are
the
doing
other
a good
Caribbean
job at our
islands.
presence. But they want more.
Yeah, they want blood.
They want blood from us. That's the
I
key.
think we're gonna have to look at, we're gonna have to.
They think,
Yeah,
but guess what, we're not the number one, you know, in terms of having assets under management.
But we have
They
no
say Cayman.
choice.
Yeah,
It's
Cayman.
Cayman has
Cayman is
more
one
than
of
us.
them.
Because when it first was,
Right,
a lot
they
of
have
our
more than
countries,
us,
they
but
Cayman.
they're doing us worse.
But we don't have,
Cayman ain't that important than it. We do
Cayman
small
has
like.
ties to the UK, you have to be
But
careful
Cayman
how you
is,
match them.
British colony.
Yeah, we're not, right,
but
and
we
so
don't.
where they have that little bit of, little protection, we're just in the open,
We just
that's why
we
they keep
give up
walking
our
on us.
independence.
Oh.
And see, we have no choice because we need correspondent banking. We need, in order for these people to
Yeah.
invest and send
We
their
do.
money here, they have to be sent to Europe or United States. And so we have no choice. We have
And
to,
they-
they
and
say,
they're
cause
trying to
they
force us
they block
to open it.
correspondent banking, y'all can't send their money
And
there.
when they force us to open that. So we
Well,
can't.
all you do is give them a dummy lesson. They'll be fine.
You sound like you're working.
She want us to be in.
No, they will have to prove it.
She's fine.
I don't know what
They
wrong
just
with
ain't
you.
trust us no more.
They already don't trust us.
They want
Okay,
a job,
Well,
they
that
want
would serve them right. It's
I
all
mean,
about
it ain't
money.
really against
They
the
don't
law.
care
It's all
money.
about
It ain't
money.
going against
Yes.
the law, cause they can't make us unless we sign an agreement to say
Exactly.
that we gonna
They
supply
can't
them
make
with
us.
these names.
But you
But
know
the-
something, the
But
They're
citizens-
gonna
the
get
pressure's
us.
real.
They just
Yeah.
want complete transparency, that's
They
all
want
it is.
complete
That's the
transparency.
one world order.
They say the word is transparency. It's no one
Transparency.
complete, it's just
Tell them now, one thing we
transparency.
don't do in the Caribbean is be transparent.
We
So
are
they,
private.
everything that would be achieved here, they in la la la.
Listen, if
That's
you
what
ain't
they
here,
want.
you won't know what's going on here. So what you need to do is move here.
That's
So
why
you-
the US lives here.
That's why they
That's
have.
right.
Cause they
That's
have
why
land
their
here, and they
prices
have
is
and
so
they
small.
own
And they
our
have
airspace.
nice
Hold
to
on.
the locals.
They own our
And-
airspace too. I
and-
didn't even understand it when I found that out we paying them to fly and over the Bahamas.
Yeah, but
The
Fred Mitchell was
manager.
supposed to check her
Oh
out.
my God, that's so stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, but then
Because that was
we
on the-
need
what's
them
the
to
name,
help
Leonardo?
us.
No.
We have to pay the
The
airlines
government
have to
could
pay
invest
them.
in the technology that you need, and then you don't need them
Yeah, we could get
dealing
drones.
with our
We could
airspace.
get drones.
They own
Because,
airspace.
we have a lot
No,
of
Our
it
airspace.
ain't
You
drones
only
you
pay
need for
attention to the seats, so you don't watch it.
They have this light, by us,
Mhm.
southeast.
for the air traffic.
It's, it's always up, you can always, don't care how, you can always see this light blinking in the night. What is that?
That's for the boats.
No, I'm not talking about the boat.
Is it
That's
air?
up in the air.
That's probably a satellite.
A satellite.
That's,
a
that's
satellite.
that's how they are able to zone
Yeah,
in.
they're watching.
That's
the
how
waters.
we able to
You
use
could go on Google Earth to find your house.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
how
I'm
they
saying
able,
it's a satellite.
that's how
I know
we're
what
able
I'm
to
saying.
access Google Maps. Like if you lost in the Bahamas, you go on Google Maps, you could be able to see your way through because they have their satellites
doing
over
what they
us.
want to do.
No, but they legally can do it because we gave them the airspace.
Yeah.
Think about it now, we're talking about going way back, you don't know which agreement they signed, that's sitting in a box somewhere, the ground, like me and you,
No, but
that
the
no
thing
one could
is,
touch.
the
think
US
about it.
government.
Think about it.
They
No,
don't
No
no,
one
we
can
could
touch.
get our airspace back.
But the thing about it.
We
is
just
You
have to
have to
pay.
go through
Yeah,
it. No,
yeah,
and
we have
then
to
they
pay.
can be
We
retaliate in
see
some
what
other
they
way.
do is they charge the
Let's say
airplanes
no more
for
visas for
flying through
Canadians.
your airspace.
Mhm.
So the money that the Bahamas should be collected for people flying through our airspace
to them.
goes to the US because the US have
But
the
the-
radars to allow to be able to guide them.
But then they might
Through
have
the
given us some other
airspace.
concession in lieu of.
And
That's what I'm
you
saying.
don't know who
If I was
signed.
sitting in the chair at those times when those things were agreed, things were done,
See,
you
it
just
didn't
don't know
matter
where
then.
it
We
is.
didn't care for that space once
And
we had
yeah,
our
it wasn't a
seat.
big thing,
Right.
we didn't have that many
Pumping
planes
and
coming
fishing,
here.
and that's all we cared about then. And sponsoring.
Yeah, we were,
But
yeah,
see, what
so
put
they
us
took
in
advantage
position,
of us
we
to
said we were
negotiate
tax-
that now.
We were tax-free haven.
No, but
We
we
said
said
Yeah.
that. What a lot of people don't know is the US has to still pay taxes to the UK for their independence. That's where the Internal Revenue Service came about, the IRS, because when they wanted to first be independent, they had to pay the UK, and the UK is still collecting money from them. And that's an agreement that happened centuries ago.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm
it's
saying,
still
this
not
is go way
broken.
back.
That's how they develop a heavy tax system, because the majority of their taxes was being paid to the UK's independence, so they just increase it for their internal revenue.
I thought that stopped when with the Boston.
No, that
Tea.
stop.
You know, I mean the Boston Tea Party,
They still doing, well, you think the UK, the crown,
That's what they
sitting
call it.
real
They also
good,
do
and
Boston
the
Tea Party.
royalty, they don't do nothing, all they doing is just sitting in the castle. That, cause a lot of countries are paying them income. That's why the crown is one of the heaviest currencies.
yeah, the strongest. Yeah, so we don't know what agreements they signed, but we are on our own.
We on our own base.
Yeah.
But what's scary?
Uh-huh.
Air traffic controllers, you know there is no international standard they have to meet, right?
Right.
Mhm.
No laws.
So anything can happen.
I just, when I found that out, I was like floored. And then the government went fight with them over them asking for training. And I'm like, are you all for real?
They go for training now.
No, their training has been stopped. We
I just
represent
read it like
them
2
and
weeks
they
ago.
fight, they
He just
still
went somewhere
fight.
in Latin America for some training.
One person?
Yeah, one person.
You gotta start with somebody.
One person from Trinidad, one person from Guyana. I
So
think
they
that's
got-
all
you
he
gotta
said.
come back and train
I
this,
think
right?
they can
Yes.
still train, it's just that nobody is pushing it here.
No,
Nobody is pushing
it isn't that. The government is decide who they want cherry pick to train, and then they will overstep people who have been there, who should be next for training. And the air traffic controller said, we're not allowing you to do it anymore. So the thing tied up in court, so there is no training, because they refused, they wanted to bring in other people, overstep the hierarchy and salary to give them salaries when the people don't have the qualifications for the salaries.
Mm.
That's the risk they taking with
There's
lives now.
so
Yeah.
many political.
But anyhow, I just wait for when they say you're off. Right on.
I pray.
They're forfeit.
Listen, every time you step in the plane, that's your life 100%. You
Yeah,
taking
but
a
hold on
chance.
now. Where they have regulations, you see the plane? That went down
Once they
189 people
check that
in
manifesto.
13 minutes?
Where, what
A
plane?
brand
And
new
into-
plane?
but
Where?
That was a brand new plane.
Where?
In Indonesia.
Indonesia.
In Indonesia, that, but
189, that's a lot of
you
people.
can't tell me that wasn't terrorism. associated.
I think so too.
Not for a brand new plane, that couldn't have been technical
Yeah.
difficult.
Yes,
It
I
could have
can
been.
I mean, it
Yes,
could, but the
yes.
chances are to me, I think so,
No,
because
man,
that means
that's
people
easy to
really
be
aren't
checked.
doing their job, you're not checking the plane, and it can't be a
Yeah,
unless it was a
brand new cars breaking
manufacturer.
down.
Yeah,
No.
round of house bringing, 13 minutes, that was on.
Yeah, we don't like
Uh,
fly.
yeah, but you all do realize
I
more
know.
lives are lost
I know.
driving a
When
car
they-
than
they
in
said
an
that
airplane.
they-
It just happens that
go
when an
down or
airplane go
something.
down, it's
It's a
a
long,
No.
it's a
But
long.
remember when that one went down, that one was not more or less like close to land.
Right, it was in the middle of the ocean.
That's in the
right?
middle of the ocean.
And it
So think
disappeared.
about when they went and they took that tracker from off this one this week. They said that tracker had already gone below the sea all the way down in the mud. Then they used a robot to get that up. Now to get the
The truck,
actual
the box to
recorder,
find out where,
the
what
box is
happened.
deeper than that.
So it's shallow water.
Yeah. So you can imagine that one that went over that water that speed, and that blew down.
We'll never find that.
Never mind.
They said they found Brandon said.
That's what they say. They're not sure.
I know for the time when they find it, someone will hide it.
Some people say, some
I don't
people
have a-
believe that the plane
Yeah, they don't
was
let you
kidnapped,
know.
but
They
don't
let
have
that
no-
go.
they were kidnapped and they were taken someplace else.
You mean like the manifest movie? Don't believe that.
Say the plane was hijacked and
Yeah,
then,
hijacked.
whatever
Oh,
they
when the
did,
time warp?
yeah, whatever they did, they took they disabled the tracking device on it so that it wouldn't be detected, but I think that's
Sometimes
fine.
these movies and stuff, they do fall.
That's what I'm
You mean
thinking.
the manifest?
Yes.
No, I'm talking about
They
blind
come back?
spot,
They did
blind
not come back.
Well, I mean.
Them said they didn't come back.
You mean like
Blind
the Bermuda
spot.
Triangle when they used to say when you think you go through it, and set the place and you never find that on the sea.
Yeah, but that plane disappeared.
That plane that I
I
personally.
don't
this
know if I
day and
told you on
age.
this joke, when I traveled a couple of weeks ago, this guy got up in the middle of the plane, he went to the back by the toilets, and then he take this white cloth and threw it over him, and he was,
Muslim
yeah, he's a Muslim, but everybody else was just sitting down, other Muslims were just sitting down, but he went and he stood up by the bathroom to put on this white thing, different from everybody else, and he started to put it on, and I said, oh, Jesus. That's the first thing that went to my mind. I said, oh my God, he can pull out a bomb. Then he sat down and he pulled out this rectangular box, two boxes. He's some kind of, they say he's high up in Iraqi Muslim. Then he took this leather string and he started to tie the box on his arm.
He's
I
getting
said,
ready to die.
He's gonna pray.
I said he's going to pray. I thought he's getting ready to blow us up. I said, what kind of foolish? Then he took one and put it on his forehead
Yeah.
and then tie it up on his
Boy, you
head. and
watch
bring it
him,
out.
boy.
I watch him. I said, what kind of
You
shit
should have
is
been
that?
praying. You watching it.
I couldn't pray. I gotta see what movie to make.
They normally lay on the mat before they start.
No, this is once he don't lay on that. No, and he was not dressed in black.
No?
No, he was dressed in blue jeans and a t-shirt.
What?
He had to put on all that just to pray?
And he had to put on all of that to pray. So you know normally the ones in the black, you see
Right.
them, wherever they are in the airport, they go to a wall and they
Yeah.
start praying. So here we are on a plane, he's not dressed in black, he don't have the little curly thing. He
They're
just
the Jews, they're the Jews.
yeah, but I mean he's dressed like no, he wasn't dressed like a Muslim.
We all,
No, the
we
Jews
all
have
heading,
the little
Yeah, but I
curly
mean he
thing
wasn't
to
dressed like a
walk.
Muslim
we all
either.
heading east, because they normally pray in the east, heading their head to the east.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, after he put on all of these things, he went and sat in his chair and started to pray.
Oh, he sat down?
Yes, he sat down after that. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, wow.
But for him to get up out of his chair, walk to the bathroom, and he stood up his nest, and then he started putting this thing on. I said, oh, here it comes.
Can you imagine sitting next to him while you're doing
Gee.
this? Like, what? Like, can I
Very
get a
strange.
seat?
Because I
Very
think they
strange.
pray at
Yeah,
certain times, right?
see, after this
But
time.
nobody else was praying.
Maybe his own vow, his own
He has a
self.
different religion.
Yeah.
I think it's a different religion.
Maybe he had
I
his
would've been
own
right
prayer
there watching
time.
him too.
I watch him.
I would've watched him too.
I couldn't even eat my food, it went cold. They offered him his food afterwards, and he ate all. So I don't know what kind of Muslim he is.
Oh my goodness, bless him.
He is. Frightening. Companies do normally shareholders and beneficial ownership. So a normally shareholder is an individual or corporate entity that holds the shares of a company either directly or indirectly on behalf of the ultimate beneficial owner. So I say that this is the business that the Bahamas have developed, yes.
This is basically the same as the personal shareholders. I mean, it's the concept.
Concept similar.
Concept.
So, what you have is a company that has incorporated other companies to act as shareholders and directors on behalf of their clients. So normally shareholders are normally used for reasons of anonymity and convenience. So that is what the OECD wants to attack. There should be no more anonymous persons. So the provision of such services must be offered to clients whose identities, business dealings, and character have met the strict KYC and the Bahamian law. So again, we have the challenge, because when you act in these capacity, the FCSPs have a duty to do due diligence on the shareholders before they incorporate the IDCs. But because we had deficiencies in the CFATF review of our AML, according to international standards, we're not up to bar.
You said they use companies to act as the shareholders and directors of other companies. Okay.
Or they can use actual employees of their company. But no matter how you do it, you could either have the names of the individual or you could have the company acting in that capacity. So one of the strong points we would have said before CRS was that any FCSP that offers this service would have done due diligence on all the shareholders of the IBCs, or whether they incorporate the company. That we did strict KYC, got your passport, your address verification, did your word check, your Google check, they're good. But because of the deficiencies in the CFATF last year, international standards say we don't meet the AML requirements. We sent nobody to jail. That's their key thing. And then we didn't have the provision in the proceeds of crime for very wealthy persons who had unexplained wealth. So the nominee shareholder agreement is a type of agency relationship where the nominee shareholder, by holding a company's shares in his or its name for the ultimate beneficial owner of the shares, acts as an agent on behalf of the ultimate beneficial owner. So most people, where they have an IBC in the Bahamas, they have it in Panama, they have it in Seychelles, St. Kitts and Nevis, they all use this nominee shareholder. As an agent, the nominee shareholder owes the same duties and responsibilities to the ultimate BO as any agent would owe to its principal. So they have a duty to perform by express or implied terms of the agency agreement. The nominee agreement between the ultimate BO and the nominee shareholder, and they act strictly within the limits of the terms of the agency agreement, because they are an agent of the beneficial owner. In consideration of the agency agreement and the duties and obligations in such a relationship, the potential liability that a nominee shareholder would incur would be primarily one towards the ultimate beneficial owner, because that's the principal of the shares for breach of warranty of authority, if the nominee shareholder exceeds its authority to act on the principal's behalf. The principal may ratify the act of the agent if desired. So that means that an FCSP can go beyond being a nominee shareholder, can go beyond their duty. The ultimate BO has to ratify that in order for it to be within the memo and arts. It is desired that the provision of the nominee agreement between the ultimate BO and the nominee shareholder states clearly and comprehensively the nature and ambit of the nominee shareholder relationship, the duties and responsibility of the nominee shareholder, and the extent of the authority of the nominee shareholder. So this is a big business for the Bahamas. With regard to third parties, the nominee shareholder has the same liability as an ordinary shareholder, which is liability for any amount that remains unpaid on shares issued to him in a company limited by shares. Because remember now, on the record, he is the shareholder, so he becomes liable. But remember now, the payment of those shares comes from the ultimate BO. A strict interpretation of the nominee shareholder agreement may cause some legal academics to surmise that the potential liability of a nominee shareholder is in reality a legal fiction, since a nominee shareholder has no real or practical liability. Any legal obligation or liability with regard to the shareholding remains the obligation of the actual ultimate BO of the shares and not of his agent or representative. So you see why the OECD is pressuring for the open beneficial registry ownership. Because it really is the beneficial owner who controls it. So what you see, the structure is like this. You have an IBC with a nominee shareholder of a behemoth FCSP. But then what the BO does is he have the shareholders appoint him as a director. And so he directs and controls everything in the company. So on record, he is the shareholder, the nominee. But then the BO is a director. And that's how they keep control.
And then some people just want confidentiality, they don't want people to know that they own it.
So then what they do is they have,
Especially when they go IPO, they try to.
you get the FCSP, one of their companies is a shareholder, and you get another one to be the director.
And then you have a list of authorized signatories.
From the FTSP. So you never know who owns the company. On the face of it. You got that?
And then sometimes they
Mhm.
put the shares in a trust, and they assemble up the trust.
Yeah, you can do that too. So there are different ways you can do it. So these are some of the things that we are being promoted, even with the B, the New Bahamas Executive Entity, that acts as like a director, corporate director. So you can incorporate a B and then use that B as a director. So you still don't know who owns the company or who's controlling the company. Because everything on the annual statement is another company. So when we had the Bahamas papers, when we had the Panama papers, we had the Bahamas papers, they couldn't find out anything because all they saw were nominees.
And then members aren't, registered members isn't filed with the registry.
No, it's not filed. So you don't know who owns
So you
it.
only
But
see
even if
the
you got the
directors?
register, even if you got the register of members,
Got the
register of
directors.
members will still only have the nominees.
Normally
Behind all of
directors.
that is the declaration of trust.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
those
not
are
filed,
private
done as private.
documents.
They're private. And you
even
wouldn't
if it
even
was
see
a-
you wouldn't even see the declaration of trust at the registered agent's office.
No, that's
They won't be there
internal
either.
document.
When would it be, the registered office?
No,
No,
no.
with the
So
directors.
where would you, if you really needed to pass that bill, where would you find that?
By the court could ask the nominee.
That's a
Yeah,
private-
that's a private.
that's
But
a
normally
private
between me and you
between
know, you
two
never see it.
persons or a company and a
Most
person.
times the
one will ever see
beneficial
that.
owner
No.
holds it.
No, yeah. Sometimes you get, if you look at the laws in Panama says that when you act in a nominee capacity, there are certain entities, financial entities, that can hold your letter of undertaking and declaration of trust. Because remember, Panama was famous for bearer shares. So they had all their companies convert their shares to registered shares. And the holding of those declarations are done by certain intermediaries. So you'll see the same thing if you get something from St. Kitts, Seychelles, or whatever, and you want to know who is the ultimate beneficial owner, whoever's the keeper of that actual certificate by that nominee comes back and tells you, here's a copy of the declaration of trust. It won't be with the registered agent. It will be with whoever's holding that actual share certificate. Because behind it, they'll have the declaration of trust and the declaration of undertaking. The undertaking says that if there is a change in the nominee, we will advise you because you're holding it. The declaration of trust is saying that Mr. So-and-so is the ultimate BO of this, resides at so-and-so, passport number so-and-so.
And then if you have a trust that they have, if say you have the company, the nominee company, and then the declaration of trust is saying that the nominee company is only holding the shares invested in the trust, you still have to dig further
You have
because
to
the
go
trust
further.
isn't registered. Trust are confidential relationships.
Remember they tried 2 years ago for registration of all trusts.
It's a relationship, so they're not registered, so if you don't know about it, you could be a beneficiary of trust and you don't even know.
Mm-hmm. It is important to note that the potential liability of a nominee shareholder are not to be confused with the potential dangers of providing such a service to offshore clients, particularly in a financial environment where sophisticated white-collar criminals seek to use offshore companies to hide or launder money from their illegal activities and help themselves and the source of their funds inconspicuous. It's highly recommended that stricter KYC requirements be established by FCSPs or financial institutions in terms of verifying client identification and distinguishing conclusively the nature and ambits of a client's business dealings before the provision of such services are offered to a client. Alternatively, an FCSP or financial institution may wish only to, do business with well-known or existing clients. You'll find that too with a lot of FCSP. Once they get connected with one individual or family, they tend not to go outside of it because you expose yourself to more risk. In either case, it is a requirement in any risk-based approach to the implementation and enforcement of customer due diligence policies and procedures, systematic monitoring and reporting of companies with such nominee services should be established and maintained within an organization's compliance culture and legal framework. So it's not just financial institutions in terms of banks and trusts and securities business, but they're also looking for, from the international level, that all of these nominee services that we are offered, there have not been any filing of suspicious transaction that converted to someone going to jail. And they find that alarming, that of all these IBCs open, none of them were crooks.
We run a lawful society.
Yeah.
In all these years.
But put it like this, our onboarding process is very strenuous, so, okay.
Money now.
No, but I'm
Just kinda
saying,
in the last
that means
couple
we
of
weed
years.
them out at the
Yeah, you
beginning.
read them out at the beginning,
So
but they don't believe
they don't
it.
believe that.
They don't believe it.
Cause the KYC requirement, even like that question you put on the exam with the
Oh,
pep.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
no,
she
no,
take
no,
the exam.
no.
She ain't have-
She's here, not her. She ain't take it. She's next.
Say, oh, sorry.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So it's the efforts are being made, they don't believe it.
Don't
I
care
think
what
we
we
doing better
do,
now,
they will
though.
not believe it.
Thank
So
you
my
very
thing
much.
is, we
And
just have
thank
to
you
reach a
very
point
much.
where we
That's
go
it.
tell them, go jump
That's
in the
it.
lake.
That's it.
We're done, we're
They
not
just
doing it
can't
anymore.
believe
We have to
Even
admit
our
that we're
culture
doing
is
better
different.
now than we
We
did
are.
goodness
Even
years
our
ago with
culture
those
is different.
KYC boarding. The things that we do now.
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's
The
not enough.
onboarding
I
process is
mean,
I mean, they
it's
just
very
believe
strict.
that we are so prosperous in this little tiny country.
and we a praying nation. God knows.
Y'all like bring religion in this boy. Not
Hey, why
Christianity,
not?
religion.
the praying nation.
Everything
They
is
will
praying
get
nation.
out.
They're gonna change it. That's all.
Even though we got some other people there, we have a praying nation.
Don't do it.
I'm out of it.
So to provide nominee shareholder services, you have to be licensed by the Central Bank of the Bahamas. A nominee trust licensee is a nominee company which has obtained a restricted license from the central bank and holds securities or other assets in its own name on behalf of clients, but carries on no other trust business. Minimum capital is 10,000. The annual fee is 10,000. The nominee company must be a company incorporated under the Companies Act, but IBCs are prohibited from engaging in banking and trust business.
So if you are a financial service provider, you have to have a license, a nominee license,
To provide that service.
to provide that service.
And the shareholders will be incorporated
So
in
what
the
about
company act.
those licensed under the Securities Commission? There's
An
no.
FCSP is licensed on the Securities
Securities
Commission
Commission
first.
first.
So it says, notwithstanding the nominee shareholder agreement, under company law and in consideration of the legal underpinnings of an agency agreement, arrangement, the shares of a deceased member of a company, in this case, the ultimate VO, normally devolve on the PR of the deceased member's estate, just like we said it before, by operation of law. So therefore, in the death of an ultimate VO, and subject to provision of the Articles of Association, shares held by a nominee shareholder on behalf of an ultimate VO cannot be disposed in any way that the company chooses, since the legal ownership of such shares is that of the PR of the ultimate VO, because you're only holding it in a nominee capacity. So shareholders' rights. Shareholders have certain contractual and legal rights which are outlined in the memorandum and articles and are also enshrined in company law. Shareholders also have a certain statutory rights under the Companies Act and the IBC Act. Shareholders also have rights, privileges, and powers.
I have a question.
Where?
For the IDCs, international companies, you said that they would provide a will. Does it matter if a will is in a different jurisdiction still, or it has to be probated here? How does
It would,
Resealed.
probated wherever it is right now,
Wherever
it's
it is.
resealed here in the Bahamas to deal with the assets
That's
in the
here in the
Bahamas.
Bahamas.
Yeah,
Resealed.
it's resealed.
Probated wherever it is,
It's-
and
and
then
then
sent here to be
resealed.
resealed, if it has
Oh.
Bahamian assets. So a shareholders' rights are enshrined in the Articles of Association, and you know what those rights are, we went through those already. Reduction and alteration and increase of capital and transfer of shares, that's one of their rights. The general law may protect shareholders of private companies from fraud, illegality, or unfairly prejudicial conduct of the company's affairs, but it cannot protect them from the consequences of dissension within the company between its directors or members, because it is not the function of the court to review the merits of business decisions taken by the board of directors or shareholders. Certain protections of shareholders' rights may be drafted into the Articles of Association in order to ensure legally and contractually the rights of shareholders are observed, protected, and maintained. So relevant corporate documents, the shareholders' rights, we know it's the Articles of Association, the shareholders' agreement, the nominee shareholders' agreement, the declaration of trust, the register of members, the resolution of members, common law, and legislation. That's their rights. Because wherever the articles and memorandum are silent, then you go to the Companies Act or the IBC Act. The shareholders' agreement is a contract between the shareholders or the members of a company in which they agree how the company should be run. So the board runs the company according to the shareholders' agreement. The shareholders normally agree to use their voting power in the company to ensure that the terms of the shareholders' agreement are complied with. A shareholders' agreement is a contract between the members themselves from which they can sue and be sued by each other. It binds each member to the other by the provisions outlined. Shareholders' agreements may not suit all circumstances, but they should normally be considered when there are between 2 to 20 shareholders in a company. A shareholders' agreement is designed to protect all the parties to the agreement against a majority of shareholders using their voting powers to the detriment of the other shareholders' agreement. So at the very beginning, you come to agreement, you say how you want the company constituted. Because you set the limits in there, like to how many directors the board should have. So the board of directors don't determine that. The shareholders' agreement by the shareholders, they determine, they know what's the minimum, they set the maximum.
Would this, go for public companies as well? They would have this as well?
Yeah, because they all are memo and arts.
So at what point is this agreement typically established? This is because when you first subscribers, they appoint the director, and then the directors issue the shares to the shareholders.
Mhm.
At that point, the shareholders
Have a
agree.
meeting, decide what
But
the
then the
company comes to
memo
do
and
then.
arts have already been established.
Yeah, but don't forget, in the memo arts may only say a minimum of 2. What the legislation actually says. The
Okay.
shareholder agreement tells you up
Will
to how much you can
override
go
that
to.
and
It
say
tells you
that-
how much you can go to.
Okay,
It gives you the minimum, but not the maximum.
Well, if
okay.
we saying for public companies, like how they say for 2 to 20, if this is like a large public company,
Mm-hmm.
if
It may and it may not too, because the shareholders are all of these people.
Okay.
You see what I mean? Cause it says, without a shareholders agreement, the company will normally be under the control of those who hold a majority of the votes at directors and shareholders meetings. So take BOB. Who has the majority of the voting power? The government.
51%.
So they direct how the company works.
So if you have a public,
Yes, cause they own it.
so if you have a public company, and you have a group of persons who have the majority of shares or whatever, then that could be amongst them.
You
Yeah.
mean like, give an example, like who?
I don't know, let's say like Commonwealth Brewery or something, you might have some person who are the majority shareholders, like group of persons, who may be the majority of shareholders, even though you have shareholders all over because it's a
Mhm.
public company. But could the majority of shareholders, let's say you have some persons, like 3 or 4 persons who make up, let's say 55% of all the shares that are, for whatever reason, just for example, could they form or have a shareholders agreement
I would think
amongst
so.
themselves?
Yeah.
Cause they control the majority.
Question, for instance, if there's an ordinary shareholders, they can have their own
No,
share agreement,
Mm-mm.
shareholders agreement, no?
on a public company?
They're the ordinary shareholders,
Mm-mm.
no?
Mm-mm.
Cause they would be the only shareholders that have voting rights.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have a
So if
shareholders agreement.
All those
No.
persons.
I couldn't see that happen. If we have 500 or 1,000 persons, they have a shareholder agreement,
So all of these people have voting rights, so.
they have voting rights.
But
I think you
they,
could
they're
give
not
a
that
proxy for
beneficial
your rights.
owners,
They're
So
so.
not,
they-
yeah,
give a
cause
proxy.
yeah.
No, but I'm just trying to understand, like, which sounds similar to what she was asking you about there being, if it's a part of the company